out that I'm going live. Let's go. All right. I believe I am now live. Hello, folks. Look at that. Some people will give you the salute. I like to give you guys the double salute. It just shows a little bit more respect on my part from me to you. Welcome to the Weekly Spinner Rack. I'm your host, Chris. If you've never checked out a show before, this is the one. I've got a big show planned for you today. I've got some cool comics to review. I've got some blind box stuff that I'll probably open in the course of the show. I've got so much comic book news to talk about. I'm really excited to do that. As a big part of that big chunk of news, I'm also going to go over all the Eisner nominees that were announced for 2022. And we'll just sort of have a little discussion about who we think maybe should be the winner there. So I'm excited for that. I'm probably going to do a giveaway of this Radiant Black comic. I'll discuss that in a moment. So all sorts of awesome stuff. Oh, and I'll be drawing something as usual. Spider-Gwen today. Let me acknowledge some of the folks in the super chat. I missed some. Let me scroll up so that I can see who we've got. LO2. Big Gay Dave, Steve Sorensen, Joe Dent, Marcelo Ramos, Ricky Prickles. Hello to also Gork Alejandro, Andrew Jefferson, Keith Rotenberg, Robert Weichel, Black Phoenix, Sir Mr. Howell. Hey, it's my sister Jean. Always awesome to see you, Jean. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this with me. It means a lot to me. We've also got Drew Canoli, I think it's pronounced. We've got Louis Aravalo, Xavier de Assis, I'm guessing on the pronunciation, folks, but there's a lot of people here today. Let me keep going. Oh, wow, there's a lot of people here. Hello to Aaron Lee. Hello, Clay. Hello, Chris Sears. Owens Reviews. Michael DeFonte. Iron Shell. Ignacio. Brian Reagan. Tit Goblin. We've also got Aaron Lee. Colin Walton. Michael DeFonte, I think I already said that one. I don't know. Wilo. Tyler, Eminem, not the Eminem. This is M and M. All Lucky 7. Michaela, I gave you a plug last week. Thank you for jumping in. Michaela has a YouTube channel, and she's getting like a PhD doing a thesis on all sorts of DC Comics history. It's really, really interesting stuff. She puts together a lot of interesting data. David Cruces, El Torito, Dr. Doom, Ale Wren, Joaquin. Look, I'm so glad that we've got a bunch of people here. If I keep saying names, we can't get going. So I'm gonna move on, but I will acknowledge you. So happy to have all of you here. First of all, that really means a lot to me. It's gonna be a fun show. I can promise that much. Radiant Black. We're gonna have to hit certain metrics for me to give this away. This is the Blacklight variant for issue 10. So you put this issue under a black light, and these phosphorescent, colors are really gonna pop like wild. So this goes for quite a bit online. So I'm not just gonna simply just give it away. Here's the metrics that I've got in mind. If this show, I'm gonna assign the random number of 500, as in if this gets 500 concurrent viewers, or 500 likes, or $500 in chat donations, super chat donations. If I hit any of those things during this episode, I will randomly, I've got like a game where I'll just like sort of pick a number, and whoever gets that number is going to win this. I'll mail it wherever in the world, okay? So that's the game. If we don't hit those metrics, folks, I will keep a tally of what we got for super chats this week, and next week when I have my next live show, maybe I'll give it away that one if we hit those metrics. So I won't like start from zero. It can add, but that's going to be like, sort of my metric, because this is a pretty valuable comic. And so I'm I don't love doing giveaways in the first place, but I thought it would be fun to give this to somebody, and I thought that the most fair way would be randomly, but I want to like sort of have I don't want to give it away for like a show where only like 20 people tune in, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's the game, okay? So if we hit like, I'll check, just so you guys know, if you've never watched this show before, it usually goes about 2 hours. So in about 2 hours, I will sort of check where the metrics are, and if we hit any of them, I'll do the giveaway. Otherwise, maybe it'll be next week, something like that, okay? So, could be fun. If you're only watching it to try to win this, you're probably going to be disappointed, because I only have the one copy, and I'm like waiting for like a fair amount of people to show up. So, but this is a really cool comic. I've really enjoyed it. So let me give a shout out. Kyle Higgins, the writer, sent this to me. I thought that the best thing I could do would be to, in turn, give it away, but I'm going to use it for some promotion, okay? So, share this, or hit the like button, or donate, whatever you can do. We'll boost this show up a little bit. Let's get into the reviews this week, because I don't have a ton to review, and then we'll start with the drawing and the news. I only have a few comics that I picked up personally this week, but the first one I want to look at is issue 3 of The Excellent, which is basically sort of a new version of Ecstatics, if you ever read that, by Peter Milligan and Mike Allred. Same creative team. And the Ecstatics was always about, mutants in the Marvel Universe viewed through the lens of celebrity. But it's almost a whole new generation since that issue came, that run came out. I've got an episode on Comic Tropes about it, by the way, if you're curious. So check that out. It's one of my all-time favorite mutant comics in the X-Men world. It's a new generation. So now the Ecstatics has a competing mutant celebrity team, but they are much, much, much worse people. But it does comment darkly satirical, folks, on the nature of celebrity and what it takes to stay relevant in the world of social media and videos and stuff like that. Their leader, Zeitgeist, is a monster. He is just deplorable. Really, really bad. And but you know what? It's still pretty funny at times. And I've always been a huge fan of Mike Allred's artwork. It's there's something about it where it's a little retro, but it doesn't necessarily look like any specific, artist from say the 60s or so where I sort of associate his art style from. I can't think of anyone that he's necessarily copying. So he's got his own distinct style. His characters always seem just slightly off balance to me, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that it implies a great deal of motion and energy to the characters. No, it's rare for them to sort of be just sitting still. Anyway, if you haven't read it, it's really awesome. We're starting this episode, this issue, like the last two, have been focusing at least as much page time to the Excellent as to the Ecstatics. I mean, hence the title. So we sort of have our good guys. They're at least a little bit more moral than the bad guys, but they're both strange. Zeitgeist did get his first team murdered in his first appearance. Yes, Andrew. He does not care about anybody but himself. He's awful. Just awful. And there's this new guy, Fluff. Someone was saying he looks like Mick Jagger. So there's this handsome new team member on The Excellent. They give these guys the weirdest powers, but I think that's so appropriate for mutants. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm getting an error. Is this getting choppy for anyone? It shows that I have excellent stream health, but it said that it might have been choppy for a while there. Hopefully it wasn't too bad if that was the case. Yeah, this guy, Fluff, he can create extra belly button lint and turn it into whatever chemical composition he so desires. So he basically can shoot all sorts of strange gases out of his belly button. It's pretty weird. Best superhero eyebrows? Maybe. Yep, Dupe plays an important role, especially in issue 2, Owen. Yep. No issue here. Looks good to me. Good stream on my end. It was probably just a blip then. It was probably just a blip on my end. Thanks for focusing. Andrew Jefferson says, wasn't Princess Di originally supposed to be on the team before Marvel balked at it? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Milligan and Allred had a plan for Princess Di to join the Ecstatics. At the last minute, people higher up did not like that idea, so they turned her into a fake pop star. Basically, all they did was recolor her hair from blonde to black. But that was the plan. This is Mike Allred's art. I love it. Mike Allred, so consistent. And he's been at this a long time now, I'm realizing. You know, he's been in the industry for over 30 years. That's amazing. Yeah, I really recommend it. I think that this is probably going to be my pick of the week. So let's keep moving forward. Let me also just take a quick look at my metrics. Okay. I also picked up Wolverine Patch. This is by Larry Hama, probably most famous for writing G.I. Joe. And a newer artist that I wasn't as familiar with. Let me pull up his full name here. I think it's on the last page. Where is that artist's name? His last name is DeVito, but I don't know his first name. I'm just not familiar with this artist. But he's pretty good. He's got just a nice, classic, clean style. Wouldn't call it like my favorite, but it's certainly not bad in any way at all. I can't find the artist's name. All I know is his last name is DeVito. This takes place in the past. Who cares about continuity for a story like this? This is a very simple, straightforward story. This is Wolverine on his own in Madripoor, which is an island nation that has some very, very rich people and some very, very poor people, somewhere in like the South Pacific, I guess. And Wolverine sort of has this second identity. He goes by Patch. He wears an eye patch. He doesn't need it. Seems like it would make life more difficult, but whatever. And it's got an interesting supporting cast. There's Tiger. She runs a super popular bar. There's this guy, Archie Corrigan, who's just a cargo plane pilot that's a pal of Wolverine's. And there's a lot of political intrigue. There's a crown prince of the country, but there is also a general that runs the military, and they don't really get along. All of these people have their own different political agendas. Mix into this, some Russian mutants are getting on the island to potentially take over some mysterious resources. We've also got the Yakuza getting involved. As you can see, this is a lot of different factions. It's a total mess. Meanwhile, S.H.I.E.L.D. is trying to monitor this whole situation. They tell Wolverine to back off, but that's just not what Wolverine's going to do. He's trying to solve it himself. The dialogue is total Larry Hama. People talking in like overly technical or super big enunciated vocabulary. It's funny. It's a bit sarcastic. It's cool. It's cool. You can read this without reading any other X-Men stuff. That's kind of why I'm reading it, to be honest. I like these characters. I don't always feel like keeping up with all that continuity. So this is just sort of a fun comic. That's all I can say. It's classic fun stuff. Only 2 more comics that I read this week. So House of Slaughter. I thought House of Slaughter was just a 5-issue miniseries designed to hold readers over while the main title, Something is Killing the Children, was on a brief hiatus. But no, apparently not, because Something is Killing the Children is back, and now we've got a new story in House of Slaughter. If you didn't read 1 through 5, that's fine. 6 is a new jumping on point. This time, it follows a new faction of these monster hunters. We've met, like, the white masks. They're the hunters that go after monsters. And I think that there's like some black masks that do something or other that I'm not 100% clear about. But now we're introduced to the red masks. And these people have a role of doing all the sort of like behind the scenes like maintenance work of keeping the organization running and documenting monsters, that kind of stuff. We meet a new character who has photographic memory, eidetic memory. He seems like he's also probably on the autistic spectrum, because he doesn't quite seem to understand people's emotions, or he's not also, he doesn't make any sort of intuitive leaps. He just looks at things and observes them for the facts that they are. It's interesting. It's an interesting character, and he's being sent on a mission because like a bunch of people in this one campsite have been getting eye injuries. Now, it's probably a coincidence. It's probably not a monster. But in this world, if enough young children believe that it could be a monster, that brings a monster into existence. So this new character is being sent to the campsite to sort of prove that it is not monsters, so that monsters don't come into existence. It's an interesting look at the idea and some clever world building. I dig it. I totally dig it. I'm way into it. Oh, got it. Somebody explained, because they're an expert here. Ice Dragon 57 Studios explains black masks are a one-person army instead of a team. Right. And I think I should have known that, because Erica Slaughter is a black mask, right? And then the white masks are sort of the teams that come in to maybe clean things up. Super Pickle, thank you so much for the kind words. Yeah, the latest Comic Tropes I released was finally, some would say, a look at Neil Adams, and specifically not just his art techniques, but what he did to sort of achieve superstar status, and then what he did with that status to help both the next generation of artists and the previous generation of artists. I'm happy with how it turned out, but thank you so much for the kind words. That means a lot to me. Last book I picked up this week that was new. Batman Superman World's Finest by Mark Waid, and art by Dan Mora, who I'm just totally into. I got onto this Dan Mora train a little late, but he is incredible. It's just so nice and clean and energetic. Great use spotting blacks. There's like a fluidity, but like also an angularity that I really enjoy the contrast with. It's also a real good use of economy of line art. This is, from everything I can tell, not set in any sort of continuity. Again, it's just sort of vaguely like Batman and Superman, they get along, they solve the biggest problems in the world. There are other superheroes that we see. We've got Robin and Supergirl. We've got Doom Patrol. It's great. And they're trying to figure out this new enemy called Neza the Devil, who's just some sort of like a cult leader, almost like a Ra's al Ghul, but more supernatural and stuff. Who cares? This is just fun adventure with the two best superheroes in the world that, you know, have very different personalities, but get along great. And I love that there's not like any real conflict between Batman and Superman, like, hey, you should be doing things this way. No, you should be doing things that way. Instead, it's just them using their unique skills to solve all sorts of amazing problems. And what can I say? It's a total blast. Again, these are the comics, superhero comics, that I tend to get into when I don't have to follow along with what's happening in Detective Comics, what's happening in, Superman issue 576. I don't want to have to keep up with all of that all the time. So I enjoy these where creators are just allowed to tell their story and there's no pressure to make it all fit in. But this artwork by Dan Mora, it's something special, folks. This guy, I mean, he's still rising. You know, he just got this title with Batman and Superman. That's a big deal. That's a huge stepping stone, I think, to putting him in front of more mainstream audience eyes. He's definitely done some amazing work on more independent comics, but I think he'll only continue to rise. I really do. Depending on what he wants to do. You know, these days you can become a superstar either creating a fantastic comic that you own, or you're the next X-Men artist that raises it to another level. So we'll see. But it's really cool. Oh yeah, kind of weird the way that Batman is being held by Superman as he flies around, says Victor. It is kind of funny, isn't it? Batman just hanging there. But then you think about it, and it's like, well, he probably just wouldn't really want to be carried like a bride over the threshold, and he probably doesn't want to just sit on Superman's back. So yeah, I don't know what your options become. I guess you just get held by the armpits, which I would imagine become very painful after flying through the air for a while, but whatever. Hey, look at that. It's my good friend Hooded Cobra Commander. He's got a great channel, by the way, folks, reviewing vintage G.I. Joe figures. Great guy. And Tari's here. Hey, buddy. Also, I see No. Lovely to see so many familiar names, but also I see names that are newer to me, like Zenkai Boost X. Lovely to have new people here. Thank you. I always pick up a few back issues at my store, depending on what seems to be a good value or something. Walt Simonson's Thor run, in my opinion, is still the gold standard for a Thor run. Jason Aaron's recent lengthy run was also pretty exceptional, but I think that I still, and of course Jack Kirby is great. He is. But Walt Simonson's is it for me. It just blends everything perfectly. Got a good deal on this issue where Thor was first turned into a frog by Loki. Became Throg. Throg. So that was good. This is the most viewers ever. Clay, nice to see you. Yeah, I said if we get up to concurrent viewers of 500 or 500 likes or $500 in chat donations, I will randomly give away this super rare, valuable Radiant Black Blacklight special. So that'll happen towards the end of the episode if we hit one of those three metrics. I never read this, but Young Avengers, it's a special. I like all these characters, and there's some great artists in here. Bill Sienkiewicz is kind of the main reason I got this. I'm a fan of Bill Sienkiewicz, but it also has some Neil Adams art. Timely, relevant. So anyway, I just thought I'd familiarize myself with these characters a little bit more since it has some artists that I personally really, really like. Is there going to be more Infotron and Comic Tropes, asks that one comic book guy. If I ever have a really good idea, definitely. I don't know if you guys can see, but he's back there staring at me creepily. He's over there. I think he's in the distance. You can sort of see him. I know this is a small shot, but anyway. Can confirm Young Avengers pretty good. Thank you, Owen. That's good to know. And then Long Shot number 1, 1985. This is going back to. Folks, nothing makes me feel older than being like, 1985 wasn't, I was very, very young, but that wasn't that long ago, right? And then I'm like doing the math. I'm like, yeah, 1985 was a while ago, Chris. I like Art Adams. Haven't done an episode about him on Comic Tropes yet, but I definitely have always wanted to. This was definitely his big break. And, written by Ann Nesenti, which for X-Men is just a little unique because in 1985, if there was a new X-Men title, Chris Claremont was usually either writing or co-writing it. But this one he sort of partnered or just passed on or something, and Ann Nesenti wrote this. Also the first appearance of Spiral, I believe. Interesting, weird character. All right. Folks, I have so much news to talk about. So this is my drawing that I'm going to be inking. Usually I come up with a sketch, then I lightbox it to get a cleaner version, and then I ink that. But I thought I'd do things a little differently and just try to ink the super sketchy version and see how that turns out. And I'll start getting into, let's see, Michaela says, I just got New Mutants number 24 just for this Sienkiewicz cover and art. Totally agree. Yeah. Hey, Marvin Nation, nice to see you. I don't know if you noticed, Marvin, but since you're so active on the Comic Tropes Discord, I set you as a mod. So you have mod powers there. You use them wisely. Hey, a super chat from Andrew Jefferson. Ever read the Santa Claus books by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora? It got weird. Some of Moore's earliest American comics, and he was already great. I've seen them, but I have not read them. But I'm not surprised that it got weird. Sometimes Grant Morrison stuff can get very weird, and I love Grant Morrison. Sometimes I don't always get Grant Morrison. I'll just say that. It was the first appearance of Mojo? I couldn't remember that part. I'm trying to open this new pen that I picked up. New brush pen, and see if I like it. But it's really taped in there. I was 100 years old in 1985. Oh, that's pretty old. 2022 is to 1985. Is 1985 is to 1948? Don't tell me that! Don't tell me that! That's bonkers. Oh my god. Oh my god! Let's see, what kind of a pen is this anyway? Oh, this is like more of a thick line thing. Could be good for the outside. Yeah, it's smooth. This is a uni pen. I don't know. It just looked interesting to me. Thought I'd give it a shot. It rolls smooth. Whoa! I got a bunch of Mexican money. Thanks. I know that with great power comes great responsibility. I know you do, man. That's why I entrusted you with that. So, yeah. Thank you very much, though, for the super chat. That's really, really kind of you. That's really nice of you. Thanks to watching your show, the wallet bled out hard last year in the International Book Festival, but I'm thankful. Okay, Gork. I'm glad I could cause that problem for you. Hey, Peak. Let's see. You were -8. Yeah, I know you're a lot younger than me, Michaela. You don't need to remind me, but thank you. All right, let's pull up some of the news of the week. And I'm going to start with movie news. It's not even really news, actually. It's more of like a rumor of what might have been. I'm not going to keep using this on this one piece. So, minor spoiler for Doctor Strange 2, okay? At this point, I think most people that want to see it have seen it, and I'm not going to get too deep in, but suffice it to say there's a version of the Illuminati in it, okay? And if you don't know the Illuminati, it's kind of a weird idea Brian Michael Bendis had for the comics where all the sort of big brains of the superhero world in the Marvel Universe get together and make secret decisions based on like what they think will protect people for the future. You know, usually in the comics it's Iron Man, Professor X, Black Bolt, Namor, some pretty big names. Well, this isn't really like a spoiler though, like any more than that. Like there's a version of it in that movie, but apparently the producers at one point had tried to get actor Daniel Craig to be in it. James Bond himself. Apparently they offered him either the role of Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, or Balder, Thor's brother. And Daniel Craig apparently said, no, you know what? Keep in mind, they were filming this still in the middle of the pandemic. Like, things had not calmed down very much then. And he didn't think it was really worth it to do sort of essentially a cameo role. Like, put his family potentially at risk for something like that. So Daniel Craig opted out. But at one point, he was going to be in the MCU. You know what? He probably made the right decision, all things considered, because I'm sure that they would still happily give him either of those roles in a bigger movie. You know, I say Namor is big brain. I don't know. I mean, he is a ruler of a whole nation, right? So, like, either a big brain or, like, you know, a powerful ruler or leader. For instance, Black Panther's also been in there, although he's sort of a genius. But, yeah. Anyway, would have been interesting, potentially. Did not happen. But, yeah, at one point they were going for Daniel Craig to be in that movie. But again, I think that if he was like, hey, give me a bigger meteor role than just sort of a cameo, I bet he'd consider it. But yeah, he opted out of that. I found the rumor of Balder the more interesting of the two, because we already know that at some point Marvel will do, a Fantastic Four movie. They've announced that they will at some point do that. They've got the rights to. It's a pretty big property for Marvel. They're not rushing it, but they're going to do it at some point. But Balder is a pretty important character in the comics a lot of the time. I would argue more important than, say, Heimdall. But so far has not shown up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Hey, man, nice to see you. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Balder could be used well. I mean, the MCU seems to have trimmed down the amount of Asgardians out there. So anyway, is Peter considered a big brain in the Marvel Universe? From time to time. He definitely is a smart guy. He's not necessarily in the top 10. Let's pause for a minute. Top 10 smartest people in the Marvel Comics universe. Reed Richards, Doctor Doom, Tony Stark, Hank Pym, possibly either T'Challa and Beast, maybe. Definitely Amadeus Cho. Who else is a big brain in the Marvel Universe? Possibly Wizard. He's kind of like treated a little bit lame these days, but Wizard is supposed to be super, super smart. Who else would be a big brain in the Marvel Universe? Well, there's at least 8. Hank Pym and Reed, yeah. Did someone say Balder? I didn't think I could lose any more hair. Good one, Michael. Steve Sorensen, thank you. Chris, you should have been cast as Reed Richards. I don't think anybody wants that. Need to buff up a little bit to be a superhero. The Leader. Yeah, The Leader. More recent, you're right. Blue Marvel would now be considered one of the geniuses now. That's more recent, but yeah. A lot of people agreeing with the ones that I like. Oh, did I not say Bruce Banner? I meant to say Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner would have been in the top 9, and yeah, Mad Thinker. He's done some good stuff, but I don't know that I'd put him in the top 10. Xavier's possible. It depends on like how he's written, because Xavier could like read people's minds and kind of know stuff, but I'm not always sure that he retains that knowledge. I did list Amadeus Cho. High Evolutionary is a potential one. Doc Ock would be very high up. Possibly not top 10, but very high up. Isn't Moon Girl supposed to be the smartest person in the Marvel Universe? I don't know. Forge has an interesting mutant ability. I don't think it makes him the smartest, because these are people that like have been able to master multiple scientific disciplines, Like, Hank Pym is supposed to, like, he started by creating, like, a chemical that could make things shrink, but then he was making robots. So, anyway, let me get back to drawing. And I'll move on to another piece of news. I don't think I'll keep doing that. My sincere apologies. What else do I have? Because I can't wait to talk about the Eisner nominees, but I'll do that, like, later. Here's a weird one. Todd McFarlane, I respect his hustle. He's a genius at, like, marketing. He is. But I'm not quite with him on this new idea. He launched a new NFT platform called Oddkey. It's selling a bunch of NFTs with, like, Spawn on them. And he did this, by the way, with Steve Aoki, who ostensibly should be known as, like, top-notch DJ, but if you've seen his pitch that he did for what team was it? Was it for the Red Sox recently? Steve Aoki threw out the opening pitch recently, and it was, in my opinion, the literal worst pitch I've ever seen in professional baseball. Wow. All you really need to do is get it over the plate. As long as you can get it straight, hopefully don't bounce on the ground before it gets to the plate, that's good. If you can do it fairly straight, the catcher is going to, reach wherever he needs to. Steve Aoki threw it, and it went, way high over the plate, and way to the side. I mean, he just lobbed that thing into space. It wasn't a big toss. It was just way inaccurate. Literally the worst pitch I've ever seen. Anyway, these two guys have teamed up to do NFTs. I'll be honest. I think NFTs are not here to stay. I do not think they are a good idea. And even if they were, they certainly aren't right now. That's just a fact. NFTs are tanking. It just the timing of it is terrible. So yeah, that's a relatively rare L for Mr. McFarlane, in my opinion. And I don't like saying that. It gives me no pleasure, but I don't think it's a good idea. And I think it's too late. I think they got onto it too late. So yeah, a lot of people are saying that it totally is sort of a scam, because the people that have the power to pump it up are always the people with the money, and then they always dump it while it's hot and don't get back into it. And then there's this weird attitude of if you give away your NFT too quickly, you're a coward or something. There's this whole weird mythology behind it, but all the rich people get rid of their NFTs pretty damn fast. That's just a fact. So weird. I would call that an L. But let's keep moving. I'd rather Todd make more comics. I would too. I don't get it. Let's talk about something kind of cooler for a moment. Let's talk about something cool, Daddy-O. The rumor is, and this is coming from the Hollywood trades, that Marvel is planning to do a new Daredevil show on Disney+. If they did that, there's no firm evidence yet as to whether that means that the stuff they did on Netflix is definitely considered canon for the MCU, or if this would be a variant at this point. They still haven't really confirmed that, and I don't know what I'd prefer, but I would like to see the cast all return. I would like that, personally. We know Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio have both been used in MCU projects. They've both appeared as Matt Murdock and Kingpin. Those characters do exist in the MCU, but are they the same as from the show? Maybe not. Don't know yet. The showrunner that has been hired, that's what the industry had, was the production is started with a showrunner and writers and stuff. And I'm trying to remember, it's not somebody that's done any big sci-fi stuff. It's more they did one of those USA or TNT shows. I don't remember, I want to say Covert Affairs, the showrunner from that, which I never saw. We'll see. Chemdog says he has to be in a She-Hulk. Boy, I hope so. I think that they should definitely have at least a cameo from Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock in the She-Hulk show. I mean, they've established that he's in the MCU. I think it would be a shame not to use him on the legal drama, the Marvel legal drama. I think it would be a shame not to use him. I definitely hope that they do. But thinking about that, now I'm trying to think, I'm sure that Matt Murdock and She-Hulk have somehow faced each other in court in a comic, but I can't remember one. Off the top of my head, folks. That would be cool to see them have a fight on the legal battlefield. Huh. Joe Dent with a super chat. I hope you get to the 500 today. In terms of concurrent viewers, like, I think we hit like about 134 so far, so we're quite a ways off from the 500. Terms of donations, we're still under $20, so we're pretty far off from the 500 there. But tell you what, if we fall short this week, I'll just take that, say like $20 or something, and apply it to next week, and maybe next week we hit the 500 and I give away Radiant Black next week. So I'll give it away at some point. But that's going to be my metric. You know what? Speaking of She-Hulk, there was some She-Hulk news because the trailer for her show came out. And I've got two things that I want to mention about that. So first of all, I think it looks funny, and I think Tatiana Maslany is a fantastic actress. The CG does not look finished, I will say that. But I'm going to wait and see like if the show improves that, because they often have in trailers from the movies and stuff. Sometimes they just have to release it a little too soon, but we'll see. I will say that yeah, so it looks funny. Tatiana Maslany, good choice. When I was reading about it, apparently at one point the showrunners were definitely planning on making She-Hulk much, much bigger. And then they sort of like settled on the version that they have, which I think looks like the right size versus where she's portrayed in most of the comics, where she's usually just like a tall lady. She's not over, unless she's sort of in her savage She-Hulk phase. She's usually not that humongous. But one thing I found interesting was this. In the trailer, we see Bruce Banner, her cousin. That's how she gets her powers, from like a blood transfusion when she's in an accident, at least in the comics. One would presume that's what happens in the show too. Bruce Banner is in his smart Hulk phase, right? Which we last saw him in Avengers Endgame. Andrew Jefferson points out, is Frogman the hero we need or the hero we deserve? The one we deserve. Yeah, it seems like Frogman is in the trailer, which I was very amused by. So where was I? I was just talking about how... sorry, I'm losing my space here. Okay. Oh, but that's not the last way we saw Bruce in the MCU. Because he had that after-credit sequence in Shang-Chi, and he was just Bruce Banner. But, you know, maybe he's, like, able to transform back and forth at will now? If he had that kind of control, it might make sense, because he seems to be sort of mentoring his cousin. But it just, or, you know, did they just sort of, like, backtrack? Or is this set, like, in the past? Is She-Hulk set like in the past? I don't know. It just sort of like raises some interesting questions, because she is not in the same form, or I mean, the Hulk is not in the same form we last saw him in. So I don't know. That's kind of weird is all. I think by keeping She-Hulk a little smaller means they can Hulk her out if something really serious happens, more of an impact. I think you're right on that, Michaela. That's the same thing I was thinking. Hulks can always get stronger the angrier they are. And She-Hulk is a little different than Hulk in that, like, she's pretty much always... She can be She-Hulk all the time, but still retain her Jennifer Walters personality. So you're right. Like, they may be just leaving room for her to Hulk out and get bigger. That would make a lot of sense. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it because, I'll be honest, I do like She-Hulk, the character, quite a bit. I would say my big introduction to her was the John Byrne comics, which at the time I found funny. Maybe a little less funny as I got older, but not bad. I liked her on the Fantastic Four by John Byrne. I liked her in the Avengers by Roger Stern and John Buscema. I liked her Dan Slott run. I thought that was like fantastic, honestly. I really liked that run. So I've always liked She-Hulk quite a bit, and I hope that the show does her justice. I'm trying to be hopeful because it's a character I sincerely do like a lot. We'll see. It takes place during the blip. Maybe. It's possible. Like, yeah, it could be. Okay. But who knows? Let's move on to more comic book news. Comic books specifically. Not like an adaptation or anything. Frank Miller, we talked about this on the show, he's launching Frank Miller Presents, his own company for making comics with Dan Didio. And we got an announcement on some of the actual first comics that they are planning on making. So, some of these look pretty interesting, to be honest. Sin City 1858. Frank Miller says it's not exactly an origin of Sin City, but it is, its early founding days. The Wild West. Yeah, I love mixing crime and Western. I think the Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips book, Pulp, sure nailed that. So if they want to try to go for that with Sin City, give it to me. Let me see what you can do. I'm hopeful. And then there's also going to be Sin City in color, which, while Sin City is used color, it's mostly a black and white comic, but Sin City in color will apparently feature artwork by European artist Milo Manara. And considering how sexed up the characters in Sin City are, he could be a really good fit. That could work really well. Also, there's going to be a new version of Ronin. That was a book Miller did back in the sort of early 80s. And the main character in that was like, a wandering samurai who'd gotten transported into the far future. And he ultimately died in that. But I guess he apparently knocked up a lady before he died, and this is going to follow that lady and his offspring. That one will feature artwork by Philip Tan, and all the preview pages look really good on that, folks. Like, it's pretty cool. I think Ronin is very underrated. I don't think too many people have read it, but it was cool. I read that one, that was some of my earliest exposure to Frank Miller, and I thought it was dope. I have to reread it to make sure it holds up, but at the time, I loved it. I loved it. Ronin was the first graphic novel I have read, says MF. Well, there you go. Ronin is a great big influence on TMNT. It absolutely is. People always note Frank Miller's Daredevil as an influence on TMNT, but Ronin was as well. Ronin definitely was as well. Looking great, Chris. Can't stick around. I hope you had a good week. Thanks, Gantris. I'm glad you stopped by. That means a lot. Thank you so much. But anyway, but here's the last thing about Frank Miller Presents, his new company. This one blew my mind. I had not heard this talked about, and I just saw it casually mentioned in a news article. Guess what it's funded by? Guess what's funding Frank Miller's new comic company? I bet some of you are guessing it right now. It's something we were talking about just a little while ago with Todd McFarlane. Yeah, it's funded by NFTs, specifically the Spice DAO NFT group. Wow. Who are they? Well, Spice DAO are the folks that were founded to buy a bunch of rare Dune artwork that director Alejandro Jodorowsky had put together, for his pitch book, and they thought that owning that book meant that they could make a movie adaptation or something. That's not right. But yeah, so these folks, I guess, have still a lot of money, and they're the ones funding Frank Miller's thing. Crazy. That is just bonkers to learn about. Woo. Did not fill me with tons of confidence for its longevity, if that's the way they're going. But who knows? Who knows? Money is money, I guess, for investments, right? Money is money. Let me clean up some of this pencil work with my trusty kneaded eraser. And we'll keep moving forward. But that is bonkers. Oh, I think a really cool comic is Heavy Metal, which is really more of an anthology and published more as a magazine, but it is comics. And you can now get 51 issues of Heavy Metal for whatever you want to pay for it. Humble Bundle. If you've never used a Humble Bundle is like an opportunity to buy digital copies of a bunch of comics for whatever you want to pay. The money is basically being raised for charity. You will get the very first issue of Heavy Metal ever made, which is awesome because that's mostly European artists, which we don't get to see anymore. There's also a bunch of other key issues over its run, some modern, some in the middle, all sorts of really cool stuff. So yeah, if you go over to Humble Bundle and look up the Super Massive package, that's the one that has this. And yeah, Steve Sorensen with a super chat saying NFTs equals modern day Monty Python sketch. Kind of agree with that. So yeah, let's see. Owen's review says, remember when Heavy Metal published the second volume of The Paybacks by Donny Cates? I don't remember that, actually. That's interesting. There are tears. Anyway, so go to Humble Bundle to check that out. I don't have all the information in front of me, but I thought that sounded like a pretty cool deal. Here's what they're raising charity for, because you probably want to be able to support that, if you are doing this. It goes to the Comic Book League Defense Fund. That one gave me a little pause, because that definitely used to be an organization I gave support to. And then about, just over 2 years ago, there was a lot of controversy there, because the guy running the thing, Charles Brownstein, got into a lot of trouble for sexual harassment. Just like really bad stuff. Really awful. I believe Taki Soma has made a comic book about her incident. I believe she made a comic about it. Ugly stuff. And the organization kind of protected him for a while. They didn't immediately just let him go. It was not a good look. It was not a good look at all. But he did resign 2 years ago, so maybe they've gotten beyond that. I don't know a whole lot about where they stand now on things like that. It was pretty ugly. Yeah, get those Richard Corbin issues, Den of Earth. Yeah, Mobius. So anyway. No, Steve. You're looking at the wrong Humble Bundle. There's two different Heavy Metal Humble Bundles. The one that's still up is called Supermassive. That should still be up. Let me double check right now. Because they had another one that was very similar recently. I'm just double checking on my phone, because maybe I'm wrong, and if I am, I want to correct myself ASAP. Thanks for the super chat, though, Steve. That's really nice of you. Because this was only announced a few days ago. I'm going to the actual page right now. It says you can still buy it. Yeah, it still lets you check out. This is, and it says that this offer is good for 11 more days. Yep, I just went there. The one I'm talking about is still up. They're digital copies, folks. But yeah. It's called the Supermassive Heavy Metal Humble Bundle. You got to pay $25 to get all of it in the first issue. Okay, so there's tiers and stuff, like, but you could get some stuff for like $1 and you get 25. Yeah, they're all digital only. Digital only. But that's still a hell of a lot of comics to read. For $25 and you could get all of it. 51 issues. Heavy Metal is like a thick magazine. And that first issue is dope. So anyway, just wanted to at least mention that it was out there. Up to you to look into whether supporting the Comic Book League Defense Fund is something you want to do. I don't think it's a bad idea. Their mission is to protect creators who have gotten into lawsuits, so to sort of help set precedent for defending creative expression. Steve, you didn't have to give a second separate super chat, but that's really nice of you. He says, found it. My bad, there was one. Okay. I have some of those actual issues, says Clay. That's so cool. That's so cool. DRM free. Yeah, that's cool, right? Anyway, I thought I'd at least point it out because it's a good value. I like digital comics. You could take this with you on a trip or something like that. Got all the Von Bodie stories. Yup. Yeah, you don't have to put them in Mylar. You could put your computer in the Mylar, although I'm not 100% sure if that would be very helpful. I got to keep going because we're already like an hour in, and I've got more stuff to talk about. I've got a lot of news this week. Okay, folks, it's time. This is a good time. Like, we're about halfway into the show. Let's talk about one of the big pieces of news here. This is just insane to me a little, but maybe it's not as crazy as I'm making it out to be. There was a huge deal between like Marvel and two of Stan Lee's old companies that still control a bunch of sort of assets that are related to Stan. Marvel has apparently acquired the likeness rights to Stan Lee for like the next 11 years, I guess. Here's where it could be cool. If they wanted to use his likeness for like, a poster or a statue at, say, a Disney theme park, well, that's kind of cool. Yeah. If they wanted to use his likeness, in a comic book setting, like could be set in the past, or somebody could meet Stan Lee in another dimension, whatever. Something like that makes sense. Here's where I get scared, though. Do they want to, like, put a digital version of Stan Lee back in, like, the cameos in the MCU? Because that does not sound like something that would make anybody happy. Would that make you feel good to see Stan Lee back on the screen, knowing that he's been dead for several years? It wouldn't make me feel good. It would I'd just sort of be looking at going like, huh. I mean, I might be less creeped out if they, like, exhumed his body and, like, hooked him up like a marionette and, just sort of, like, dubbed over some lines going like, Excelsior. With great power comes great responsibility. And just, like, dump him. So I don't know what they're planning on doing. It could be innocent. It sounds weird. It sounds weird to need his likeness rights. I don't know. But maybe it's not as creepy as I'm making it out to be. Maybe I'm the weirdo. The Stan Lee thing reminds me of that old Simpsons Halloween special where dead celebrities are used for promotion against their will. Yeah. Hey, Meow Nian, nice to see you. I'd be annoyed if they did a Stan Lee statue and didn't have a Jack Kirby one. Well, that's totally fair. But didn't Disney? I think Disney put like Jack Kirby in once like they acquired Marvel as like one of their big name creators in sort of like their hall of heroes or something like that. Like they. I don't know. It feels weird. It feels weird to me. Yeah. Black Phoenix says it's ghoulish, and that's the perfect word because let people die. I'm not against you hanging a poster or something in the background with Stan Lee. But I wouldn't want to see a digital Stan Lee talking to me. That would be creepy to me. That would be very creepy to me. 7575 says, you just to add to the Humble Bundle, you can actually adjust where the exact dollar amount split of your money goes to and give more of it to Heavy Metal or Humble instead of the Comic Book League Defense Fund. Well, there you go. That's super important information. So there you go. You could still get this Humble Bundle for a great price, get all those digital comics of early and modern heavy metal magazines, and you can control where you put the money. That's great to know. I love that they give you that control. Carrie Millen says, I want Dead Stan Lee with the CGI from the Twilight Baby. Go full cringe. Yeah, I've seen that on YouTube, that baby from Twilight. It is terrifying. Would it be okay if it's CGI Stan Lee, but as a background asset? If it was recognizable to me, I'd still find that creepy, I think. There's probably ways you could do a tribute to Stan and make it palatable, make it appropriate, but you'd sort of have to acknowledge what the real situation is. And if you didn't, it's creepy to exploit the dead, you know? There used to be these, like, commercials back in the day with, like, Fred Astaire dancing with a mop or something, and everyone was like, no, that ain't it. that ain't it. And it's hard to imagine a way to make this work. But that was one of the big pieces of news that I wanted to talk about and sort of get the reactions. And so far, it seems like I am not alone, that like nobody is going like, no, I love this idea. I want to see Stan Lee, and I don't care if he's dead. I want to see him. I don't think that people would sort of laugh and react the same way. You know? It's bizarre. Yeah, look at Carrie Fisher. At least in the Star Wars movies, when they brought back Tarkin and stuff, it was more like about the character than trying to like bring back the dead. I think that like that was the biggest part of Rogue One that didn't work for me, was the CGI Princess Leia and CGI Grand Moff Tarkin. I think that was the biggest. Like, I like those movies, but I don't think it was necessary. I think just hire a lookalike or even just somebody that can get the cadence right. Whatever. Yeah. Stan Lee, Peter Cushing, and Jeff Bridges and Carrie Fisher in a CGI band called the Uncanny Valley. The Uncanny Valley. Welcome to the Uncanny Valley. So, it looks like we've spoken, and I'm sure Marvel will be watching this particular YouTube show and take our concerns to heart. So, good. We've done our work, everybody. Go us. We'll move on, because I've got plenty more news. News. I think I'll stop that. I'm just doing some delicate line work. And then I'll be back. I'm back, baby. And, they can make CGI people look completely convincing. If you saw the last Terminator movie, what one was that anyway? Dark Fate? They had John Connor as like a young teenager. It looked like young Eddie Furlong from T2 era on screen, and it looked completely convincing. There was no Uncanny Valley for that for me. I thought that CG was flawless. But it was also surprisingly, because I was like, Eddie Furlong isn't like a little kid anymore. How did they do that? Like, yeah. It's weird. Lloyd Bridges? I think somebody meant Jeff Bridges, because they made a digital version of him for Tron. Although, he was still alive in that, and that's like all takes place in this weird, digital world. So like I could sort of overlook how weird that looked. It still made sense for the movie, to a degree. But it was a little weird looking, nevertheless. I'm not saying it wasn't. Yeah, I've got more news. What, do you think that was it? This is just weird. I haven't watched any of the CW shows for a while. The superhero shows I'm talking about. I sort of watched them a little bit up until they did Crisis on Infinite Earths. I thought for a TV show budget, they did a decent job on that one. And that was enough for me. I was kind of burnt out on them. Like the characters, no shade against the actors. But, it's still sort of a fairly cheap TV show. And I was just like, yeah, I've seen everything they can do. Once they did that, like, how do you go bigger? Well, there's a rumor that they're going to do another big crossover based on Darkest Night. Or no, I say Darkest Night. Blackest Night, right? Wasn't that the crossover DC did? Yeah, Blackest Night. That's based on the current season of Flash. Had a character utter that line, and then they brought back a dead character. Their version of Firestorm, they brought him back as Deathstorm. So if he's, like a Black Lantern or something like that, I guess that's them adapting that story arc. And the showrunner has said he really wants to adapt that storyline because he wrote one of the tie-in issues of Blackest Night. That said, personally, I didn't care for that crossover. I guess I'm sort of in the minority there because I know it was popular, but for me, that just felt like Jeff Johns doing like more fan fiction than something original. Like he was just sort of doing a riff on like, he likes to throw in every character he can in these crossovers, and I just sort of felt like, this is more than I need. I read it because like it had gotten so much, if not acclaim, at least sort of notoriety as like being a big event. I didn't get anything out of that crossover. I felt like all it was just like every single character punching each other back and forth. Like it didn't build to anything. It didn't reveal anything to me that was big about any of the characters. The stakes were big, but I didn't really care about where it was taking any of the characters. So anyway, we'll see. Chris's favorite DC event from his favorite writer. Blackest Night. Yeah, sorry, Blackest Night, not Darkest Night. They brought Deadman back as really Deadman. Black Lanterns don't make sense to me. Most of the color lanterns don't. I'd sort of agree with that. I think that they like did a few too many. I get that you're introducing the rainbow spectrum, but like to me that was just, it was a lot. It was a lot. But who knows? Is anyone out there still, and it's fine if you are, is anyone out there still watching, say, The Flash or Superman and Lois and stuff? It seems like, I mean, let's see, they've lost a bunch of things. I mean, like Arrow's over, Supergirl's over, Legends of Tomorrow is over. Is there much of an Arrowverse anymore? Is there really? Or is it really just Flash, like using guest stars at this point? I don't know. Huge fan of Blackest Night. Interesting. What is it that you like about it? I'd be curious to know. Hey Mandela, nice to see you. I just realized I think I'm starting to color this costume wrong, so I'm looking up Spider-Gwen's costume again because I don't really know it very well. Oh no, I'm doing it right. Okay, good. Phew, that scared me for a minute. Yeah, alright, so this is all black. Interesting. Superman and Lois got real crazy, but in a kind of fun way. I've heard good things about Superman and Lois. I've heard good things about it, but I haven't seen it. Signing off soon. Pulled an all-nighter last night. It's 2 a.m. here. Wow. Naomi is on the CW, but I think that they are not renewing it. I think that that's already been announced. I never saw that one, so I don't really know much about it. I don't know what her powers are or anything. Yeah, I guess they've got Stargirl, right? Stargirl is, I think that's in the Arrowverse. I don't know. Sometimes I think that, like, it's more ambitious than it needs to be for TV. That maybe, I don't know. It's fun to see the characters meet up, but it starts to feel like a lot of weight when you have like it all interconnected like that. It's easier to do in a comic book than it is on a TV show. They brought in Bizarro World. Oh, that does sound fun. That does sound fun. My wife was watching the Arrowverse, but she fell off a while ago. She's catching up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was fairly strong. Although it was sort of like theoretically in the MCU right up until that last season, and then they just hadn't been told about the blip and everything, and so everything they were doing after that, like for that final season, just doesn't really fit. And they'd killed off Coulson, which, why? They kept the actor but killed off like the main character. That's just depressing. Too soon. I don't know. What a mess. What a mess. Let's move forward. There's some more news. That was a fun little diversion, but let's see what else I've got to talk about, because there's more. Page punchers. Do you guys remember when I mentioned on this show that Todd McFarlane had created something called page punchers? I support this idea. I think that this is an example of Todd doing something cool. As I told you, I think he's a good marketer. Page punchers, if you don't remember, is he's making like a smaller action figure of a DC character with only 5 points of articulation, still a good sculpt, but like articulated at the head, arms, legs. Simple, smaller figure, not quite a statue, still has some articulation, and it comes with a full comic book, only $10. $10 for an action figure and a comic book. Sounds like a good idea. Fun for the collectors, but also fun for like getting new people into it. Well, they had like Wave 1, I don't know if it's quite out yet, but Wave 1 had Superman, Batman, Black Adam, and The Flash. Now they've just announced Wave 2, and it has Superman, Batman, Black Adam, and Constantine. Might have wanted a little more variety. Like, we couldn't have gotten a Wonder Woman or a Green Lantern or something like that? I don't know. Seems a little odd to me to do 3 of the same characters. I mean, it's different costumes and variations and stuff. And I'm not surprised, I guess, about Batman, but Superman and Black Adam? I don't know. That seemed like a lot. Weird. If they're more posable than the Marvel 3.75 inch, I'm in. I think that they're roughly the same, to be honest. But I feel like the price point is right these days. I feel like the price point is fair. $10 for a full comic book and a small action figure feels like a good value. Now, you have to want that thing, but I think value-wise, they've priced it right. So, and it's an interesting way to try to get some new readers in. I think, at that price point, that might be a way to hook some new people. Those are the large ones. The second wave is 7-inch. Oh, the second wave is bigger? That's interesting, Big Gay Dave. Thanks for the correction. They come in a bigger scale, too. Okay. Night Chris, loving Spider-Gwen. Good night, Michaela. Thank you very much for coming in. Side boobs are hard to draw. How you see perspective and put it on paper is so good. I love your drawings. Thank you, Carrie. I was okay with the Spin Masters 3.75. They just need a better paint job. I don't know Spin Masters, I guess. It's $25 according to online retailers. Okay, so Wave 2 is different because it's bigger. Okay, so they're trying something. You know what? That's smart. They're trying something. They're seeing... That's almost an A/B test. They're seeing, like, are the $10 ones going to sell more? Or are the $25 ones going to sell more? It's priced about right for the size action figure, and you get the full comic book. But yeah, let's see which one makes more sense for the audience. That still makes sense to me. That's still good marketing overall. I'm waiting for my local comic store to get the Invincible Compendium Volume 1 so I can buy it. Where do you rank Invincible among Kirkman's titles? I've only read Invincible and Firepower. Oh, where do I rank it? I would call Walking Dead his best work. And I'd call Invincible his second best work. Other ones after that, I'd probably put, it's tough, because there's a lot of early stuff he did that was good. I'd probably then put Outcast, number 3. I think Tech Jacket 4, Battle Pope 5, Capes 6, his Super Patriot stuff 7. What's his current book? I'm forgetting his current book. But I put that next. And that's enough. But that's just off the top of my head. I'd have to think about it some more. Irredeemable Ant-Man? Maybe. Any tips on drawing perspective? I'm just struggling to do a worm's eye view. Create a perspective grid, block it out as like cylinders and blocks. Like make it fit into a box within like the grid, and then you'll figure it out. What wave is the Black Condor page puncher going to come out? Exactly, that's the one we're all waiting for. Black Condor, the man who learned to fly because he was raised by birds. That makes sense. That makes sense. What? Why wouldn't that make sense? He was raised by birds. Hello, birds fly. If you were raised by birds, you'd fly too. I'm glad somebody figured that out. Yeah, Black Condor's origin was wacky. I loved doing that episode about him when I talked about weird Golden Age characters. I've got an episode about Black Condor on the Comic Tropes channel. And thank you. Like, the Neil Adams video that I just made is definitely getting some good traction and some positive comments about, Neil. People saying some really interesting stuff about meeting him and about his legacy and stuff. I really like what everybody's contributing there. Makes me feel good. And if it makes me happy, it can't be that bad. Hello from Cleveland. Well, hello, Joel from the United States of America. Chris, what's your opinion on Spider-Gwen? I expected something goofy fun, but man, they give her worse than Parker luck. Yeah, maybe. She's got an excellent costume design. That's why I'm trying to draw her today. She's got an excellent costume design. But I agree. The stories are possibly a little darker than you might expect. And I think that happens a lot of times when writers are working in a alternate reality, because you can kind of go bonkers on it. And maybe sometimes you should try to hold back and like think about like, well, people tend to like stories where there's more of a happy ending. So like, what can I do to build towards that? Like, what can I have a character learn and grow and become better without like going like, hey, in this universe, I could make Matt Murdock's head explode, so I will. That doesn't happen, but I'm just saying you could do things like that. That happens in a lot of What If issues. As What If got older, for both of its longer runs, it just sort of became this like doom fest of like everybody dying, and it's like, well, wait a minute, you're telling me because one decision is different, like tons of superheroes would have died? And I don't know about that. Why are they so otherwise lucky then? Thanks for doing the Neil Adams video. So happy you were able to share his legacy with possibly a new audience. Apparently I was, so that is also nice. Yeah. Okay, here's a new comic coming out. Folks, I was a big fan of the original version of this comic, Damage Control. Damage Control is funny, and it helps make sense out of something that happens in Marvel Comics. Damage Control was created by writer Dwayne McDuffie. I should say co-created, but he came up with the idea. And it's an organization designed to quickly rebuild things that have been damaged in superhero battles, because of course there's always tons of ridiculous collateral damage in those fights, and then like the next issue everything seems to be back to normal. Damage Control was like, it was funny, but it was like about a bunch of engineers and architects and construction workers and businessmen that dealt with a very silly world and found ways to fix things. Like, they dealt with problems fixing things. I loved it. I thought it was great. And they could have, like, some really funny workplace humor, but with cameos by superheroes. It worked great. Well, there's going to be a new Damage Control comic. I'm up for it. It's going to be written by Adam F. Goldberg. He's the guy who created the show The Goldbergs, which is like sort of a sitcom fake version of his life as a kid. But obviously he's known for writing some pretty funny stuff. And here's something I really like to see. Dwayne McDuffie passed away years ago. Really talented writer. I thought Damage Control was definitely one of the more important things he created. His widow is going to be involved. I believe her name was Charlotte. Yeah, Charlotte Fullerton. Charlotte Fullerton, the widow of Dwayne McDuffie, will be writing backup stories in the comics. So she's going to be involved. In other words, it has the blessing, essentially, of his estate. And I think that that's an important move. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they create. Who knows? It might not be a great comic, but I love the idea of it, and hopefully it works, because I like Damage Control. I like Damage Control a lot. We'll see. What's my favorite Garth Ennis comic? Preacher. Yeah. And Accountants. Yes, and Accountants. I liked What If Wolverine Became an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was by, didn't that, Liefeld draw that one? If I'm remembering right. He at least did the cover, I think. So that's most of my news. Now it's time to get into the Eisner nominations. And look, you may have an opinion on awards shows in general. I kind of do. There is a weird element to awards shows, just sort of like being created to stroke people's egos. There is an element of that. But I think it's also nice to be acknowledged by your peers as creating something special. Anyway, all that is to say, the Eisners are arguably the biggest comic book awards show of the year, and the nominees for 2022 were announced. So, how about I start reading some of them for each category, and we just talk about who is going to be most deserving. Let's see. So, first category, folks, is Best Short Story. We've got Funeral and Foam by Casey Gilly and Raina Telgemeier, published by Iron Circus. Raina's obviously fantastic. We've got Generations by my man Daniel Warren Johnson in Superman Red and Blue #5. We've got something called I Want to Be a Slob by Michael Camison and Stephen Arnold in Too Tough to Die. Don't know that one. We've got Tap 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 by Larry O'Neill and Jorge Fornes in Green Arrow 80th Anniversary. And we've got Trickster Trader Dummy Doll by Triple Dream, which is Mel Hilario, Katie Langua, and Lauren Davis in The Nib Volume 9 Secrets. I haven't read them all, so, for a bunch of these characters, I haven't read them all. So, my opinions take with a grain of salt, but for this, I would choose, and it's not an easy choice here, but I'll choose Generations by Daniel Warren Johnson. Big fan of Daniel Warren Johnson. He got several nominations. I think that this is the one that I would give. Have I read comics from Latin America? I have from South America, and I've read one or two from Mexico, but Latin America is classified as what? Like Belize, El Salvador, Guatemala through Panama? So I don't know if I've read anything from, say, like Honduras or Costa Rica. Tap 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 was really good, says Andrew Jefferson. Cool. I think I for this one personally, I'm going to go with Daniel Warren Johnson for his Superman story. So there we go. Agree with Daniel Warren. Okay, thank you. Moving on, because we've got a lot of categories to get through and not that much time left on the show. We've got best single issue or one shot, as in it must be able to stand alone. It can be part of an ongoing series, but that issue has to just sort of be its own story. Okay? Mexico to Patagonia is what's classified as Latin America. Oh, well then, yeah, I mean, I've read, like, the Mexican Spider-Man comics. I did an episode on comic tropes. I did some stuff from Argentina on comic tropes. Yeah. All right, best single issue. We've got Marvel Voices Identity #1, edited by Darren Shan. We've got Mouse Guard, the Owl Hen Caregiver and Other Tales by David Peterson. He's pretty awesome. Nightwing 87, Get Grayson by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. That was the issue where every page is all one single panel and Nightwing just moves through it. There's multiple Nightwings, like it moving forward and back and left to right. Like all the pages lay out to form one massive panel. We've got Wolven Daughter by Ver. And we've got Wonder Woman Historia, The Amazons by Kelly Sue DeConnick and Phil Jimenez. For this one, I gotta give it to Nightwing 87. And when you put it up against some of this other great stuff, like, you know, David Peterson's Mouse Guard is fantastic. And I don't feel good about, like, having to choose against somebody like that. But that issue was definitely something innovative and just well executed. I raved about it the week I covered it on this show as, like, my pick of the week. I had just never seen anything so ambitious in quite a while. I thought that it really raised the bar for a monthly superhero comic in terms of what they can do. I think Bruno Redondo is at the top of his game, and Tom Taylor is definitely ably supporting him with interesting stories. So I give that one to Nightwing. Yeah, okay, good. A bunch of people are saying Nightwing as well. Dan Mora is from Costa Rica? Awesome. Did not know that. That last splash on Nightwing is the best splash page ever made. Yeah. Okay, MF does say Wolven Daughter by Ver is pretty good. Good. But yeah, a lot of people agreeing with me on Nightwing. It's something special. Even if, like, I don't read Nightwing on an ongoing basis, but I picked up 87 because it looked like it was going to be doing something unique. It was great. It was really special. If you can find that issue, I strongly recommend it. It's really, really cool on several levels. So you can at least appreciate it artistically, and you can probably appreciate it on other levels as well. Boy, does it do some really amazing stuff. So that definitely gets my pick, and I'm pulling for that one. That's one I feel more passionate about. Among some of these, I'll feel less passionate about what should win, or I don't like have a very well-informed opinion, and I'll be honest about that. But that one I do feel pretty strongly about because of what Bruno Redondo did in that issue. I'd love a fold-out edition of that Nightwing with some process stuff on the backside. That's an interesting idea, Kale. That's a really interesting idea. That would be tough to print, but possibly worth it. I love the idea. All right, let's move on. Next category is Best Continuing Series. So something that was ongoing within the last year. And our choices are Bitterroot by David F. Walker, Chuck Brown, and Sanford Green. That's an Image book. We've got The Department of Truth by James Tynion IV and Martin Simmons. We've got Immortal Hulk by Al Ewing, Joe Bennett, and a couple fill-in artists. And covers, by the way, by Alex Ross. Nightwing by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. And Something is Killing the Children by James Tynion IV and Werther Dell'Edera. Wow. That's a tough one to call, in my opinion. I've read, this is one where I've read all 5 nominees. And I could make the case for any of them. I really could. I really could make the case for any of them. I think that these are all very deserving to be nominated. I think if any of them win, I'm not going to be upset. I would cheer them on. My personal choice, I'm going to go with Immortal Hulk. I felt like that was a defining run on Hulk. I thought it did some new stuff. I thought it did a lot well. Cool, there's another one. I've worked in comics. Do I get to vote in the Eisners? Actually, you're right, Andrew. Maybe I probably can. I think I have in the past. And my choices right now could change. But as for the live stream, this is like where I'm leaning. I don't know. Maybe by announcing this, it would invalidate my ability to vote. So I'd have to look into that carefully. But I'd rather talk about it on the show than, like, get my vote counted. Because, yeah, I think I've got a bigger voice this way, talking with all of you. Marvin Nation says going to go with Something is Killing the Children, but Tari and Chemdog both go with Immortal Hulk like I did. Yeah. I think your Spider-Gwen has more butt than usual. Maybe. Tough one, though. I think that's a tough one. Those are all very good ongoing series. I do think that they all belong in there. And I'll just say, even though I didn't vote for it, kudos to James Tynion for being nominated for 2 different series in that category. That's not necessarily common for a writer to be double nominated in the same category like that. I think that's a pretty impressive accomplishment, and sort of speaks to it being his year. But I would give it to Al Ewing and Joe Bennett. I think that Immortal Hulk is great. Let's move on to Best Limited Series. Best Limited Series. I'm loving the Department of Truth, so I'll go with that, says Dr. Wolf Tickets. I like that name. Hey, Keith. Nice to see you. Jamil, I don't know if I said hello to you, but hello. Best Limited Series for the Eisners. Nominees are Beta Ray Bill, Argent Star by Daniel Warren Johnson. Loved that one. The Good Asian by Pornsak Pichot and Alejandre Tefenki. I might be mispronouncing their names, but I've talked that book up too. We've got Hocus Pocus by Rick Worth and Jordan Culver. The Many Deaths of Layla Starr by Ram V and Felipe Andrade. Stray Dogs by Tony Fleeks and Trish Forstner. And Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King and Bilquis Evely. Wow, another tough category for Best Limited Series. Loved Beta Ray Bill. Thought that thing was incredible. So much fun. I've talked up The Good Asian. Good crime comic with a lot of historical accuracy built into the story. Stray Dogs, I think, made my top 10 list last year. I've heard nothing but good things about Woman of Tomorrow. I have seen Bilquis Evely's artwork, and it's just so delicate and touching. My choice is going to be The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, and that is a tough call for me to make because I'm really passionate about Daniel Warren Johnson in general, and I'd love to choose his Beta Ray Bill book. I think it deserves to be nominated. I think a bunch of these deserve to be nominated. I think, Stray Dogs is such an underrated, incredible book. Let's see. Many Deaths is incredible. Beta Ray Bill, Stray Dogs, Supergirl, Bilquis is another amazing artist. I have not read any of those. Well, Marvin, now you've got a pull list of what to look for. Stray Dogs. I could see Stray Dogs taking it. Stray Dogs is something special. I wouldn't be upset, but I think I would give it to The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, which is funny and surreal and cinematic in the best possible way. It's a comic book, and it uses its comic book techniques, but it's something epic. Maybe that's a better word, because I don't want to try to compliment one medium by comparing it to another, now that I think of it. Yeah, not an easy choice. But wow, now that I think of it, that's 2 books in a row that I've said Ram V should win, because I also chose his work on... Oh no, Ram V is working on the Hulk now? No, Donny Cates is working on the Hulk now. Ram V is working on Venom. For a minute, I was thinking Ram V did the Hulk, but that's Al Ewing. I got them confused because Al Ewing and Ram V are writing Venom together these days. Anyway, I would choose Stray Dogs. I've not seen anything like it. It's a good mystery that is totally unique. Many Deaths and Good Asian is a toss. Good Asian and Many Deaths, another person, two different people. How many deaths does Layla Starr have? I don't think that there's a limit. Anyway, tough categories this year, right? But that's great that there's so many comics that we can be like, oh, there's 2 to 3 options that we'd really like to win. That means that there's been some good comics in the past year. Good Asian was wonderful too. It really was. Someone read Swing With Me because it's my one thing I'm reading and it's coming out this month. Catch up with me. Swing With Me? Who publishes that, Carrie, or who works on it? Because I have to admit, I don't know Swing With Me, but that sounds cool. Let's go with Best New Series. So something that debuted in the last year. We've got Human Target by Tom King and Greg Smallwood. Tons of buzz on that one. Get it. The Nice House on the Lake. Again, James Tynan in there with this time artist Alvaro Martinez Bueno. We've got Not All Robots by Mark Russell and Mike Deodato Jr. We've got Radiant Black by Kyle Higgins and Marcelo Costa. And we've got Ultra Mega by James Herron. Not easy. Not easy. Ultra Mega is so good. Human Target might win, but I haven't read it yet. I've been waiting to pick it up in trade. I don't make this choice easily, but I will. I could feel different tomorrow, but today I'll choose Radiant Black. Literally tomorrow, if you ask me, maybe it would turn into Ultra Mega. For me, it's ping-ponging between those two. And if I'd read Human Target, I feel like that would definitely be strongly in the running. Those are tough choices. Let's see. Ram V is doing Venom, Carnage, Swamp Thing, and is going to start Detective Comics. He's on a roll. The competition is amazing this year. Yes, it is. James Tynion killing it. Yep. Nice House on the Left gets a vote from Chemdog. Ultra Mega by X. Human Target by Andrew Jefferson. I wonder if Strange Death of Alex Raymond is up for anything. Well, let's stay tuned, Joe. I did love The Me You Love in the Dark. Let's see. Cesar Londano. Hi, Chris. Do you recommend the IDW TMNT? Yeah, I do. Start at the beginning. It's good. It's real good. It's real good. It mixes in like and redoes all the characters that have been in like the original series, the various animated shows, the various movies. It comes up with its own take for all of that stuff in its own comic book world. But start at the beginning because it gets pretty epic. I do recommend it. Great year for comics. I think so. Whenever people are like trying to be like, oh, you know, there's too much diversity pushed in comics or this, that, and the other, I'm like, every year in comics since like 1939 has had crap in it. But it's also had incredible stuff. You just need to look carefully. There's been a lot of great stuff this year. Wasn't Human Target a TV show in the 90s? It was a pilot in the 90s starring, I want to say, Rick Springfield? Or maybe it was David Cassidy? I think it was Rick Springfield. But then it was also in the 2000s they did a TV show. And I can't remember the name of the actor who played him now. He was in the first season of Fringe. Mark something, I think. Can't remember now. It was okay. It was okay. The comic book has him trying to sort of solve one last sort of mystery as he's dying. And it's also a romance. It's really interesting. Let's see. Moving on. My vote was for Radiant Black, although Ultra Mega is way up there. All right, we've got Best Publication for Early Readers. That's up to age 8. And then after that, Best Publication for Kids. That's ages 9 to 12. I don't think I've read any of these, so I'm just going to bang through them. Maybe somebody out there has kids or has read one of these. Best Publication for Early Readers. Arlo and Pips #2. Join the Crow Crowd by Elise Gravel. Chibi Usagi. Oh, that's at least got work by Stan Sakai. That's cool. That's Chibi Usagi, Attack of the Heebie-Chibis. I Am Oprah Winfrey by Brad Meltzer and Chris Iliopoulos. Good creators. Monster Friends by Katie Van Dorn. And Tiny Tales Shell Quest. I mean, I'm always up for Stan Sakai winning an award, but is it the best? I don't know. I haven't read any of those. Best Publication for Kids, 9 through 12. Allergic by Megan Wagner Lloyd and Michelle Me Nutter. Four-Fisted Tales, Animals in Combat by Ben Towle. Rainbow Bridge by Steve Orlando, Steve Fox, and Valentina Brancati. Salt Magic by Hope Larson and Rebecca Mock. Saving Soria, Chang and the Sun Bear by Trang Nguyen and Jeet Zedong. And finally, The Science of Surfing, a Surfside Girl's Guide to the Ocean by Kim Dwinnell. A lot of interesting publishers and creators. I mean, if I had to vote, you put a gun to my head, I guess I'd choose Salt Magic because I've read stuff by Hope Larson and I like her work, but I don't really know for any of these. Gotta watch out for those heebie-cheebies, yeah. So I don't think any of us really have strong opinions because that's just not really our target, is it? Like, that's not quite our stuff for the most part. Same with this one. Best publication for teens. That's ages 13 through 17. And I'm glad that they have these categories because, trust me, I know, like, I bet you anything, almost all of these books that are listed outsell stuff like Batman and Spider-Man and stuff like that. Because comics aimed at, like, kids and young adults, that's big business. So I totally respect that. I just, it's not what I'm reading. It's not always aimed at me. But anyway, best publication for teens. We've got Adora in the Distance by Mark Barendine and Ariella Cristantina. That's a Comixology one. Clockwork Curandera Volume 1 by David Bowles and Raoul III. The Legend of Auntie Po by Xing Yin Kor. Strange Academy by Scotty Young and Umberto Ramos. And Wind by James Tynion IV and Michael Dialynas. Again, haven't read any of those. I have heard good things about both Wind and Strange Academy, probably because of the creators involved. So I don't know it's really fair for me to pick a favorite there. But let's just note, right, that is the third nomination for James Tynion. That's pretty impressive. He's really racking them up, isn't he? Comics aimed at kids? Weird. Rick Springfield's Human Target had 7 episodes. Okay, 7. I thought it was just a pilot. But at least I remembered who was the actor. Thank you, No. Best humor publication. Some of us like jokes. I don't think that they're for me. Humor? No. But anyway, best humor publication. We've got Bubble by Jordan Morris, Sarah Morgan, and Tony Cliff. Cyclopedia Exotica by Amander Dalawal. Bad at names. Not All Robots by Mark Russell and Mike Diodato Jr. The Scumbag by Rick Remender and all sorts of different artists. Thirsty Mermaids by Kat Lay and Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead by Haro Aso and Kotaro Takada. Translation by Nova Skipper. So, look, I love Rick Remender, and I've said that, like, Scumbag is pretty damn funny. But for this, I did choose one of these books as my top 10 of the year as last year ended, and that was Cyclopedia Exotica. I thought that was a really cool comic that was both funny and meaningful. That definitely gets my personal vote in this category. If anybody else has read any of those humor publications and has a vote, super curious to hear about it. Michael Dialynisis is really good. I think I have his autograph somewhere. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Kale Robinson says, I'm thinking Strange Academy takes it easily. That book is never available. Oh, well, that does matter. Robert Weichel says, Not All Robots is really good. Okay. Haven't read that one, but I think that's the second nomination that it picked up that we've listed today. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, but for me, Cyclopedia Exotica. I definitely recommend that, folks, if you haven't checked it out. Just a one-shot, pretty thick book. Follows a bunch of different people in a world where humans and Cyclopses coexist. It's like a slightly different race of people. And so that's got some pretty interesting stuff going on in it. What else have we got? We've got Best Anthology. I love anthologies. Not always a big seller here in the United States. For some reason. Used to be back like when comics were going into like the golden and silver age. Like, yeah, anthologies were huge. These days, not as much. But let's see what we've got this year. We've got Flash Forward, an illustrated guide to possible and not so possible tomorrows by Rose Eveleth and various artists. Edited by Laura Dozier. We've got My Only Child by Wang Ning and various artists, edited by Wang Siley. Translation by Emma Massara. We've got The Silver Coin by Michael Walsh and various artists. That one's gotten a lot of heat, in a good way, I mean. We've got Superman Red and Blue, edited by Jamie S. Rich, Brittany Holzer, and Deegs Lopez. And we've got You Died, an anthology of the afterlife, edited by Kel McDonald and Andrea Purcell. That was actually Tynan's fourth. 2 in ongoing, 1 in new, and 1 in teen. Amazing year. Thank you, Kenny G, for helping explain that. That's really helpful of you, because it's hard for me to keep track of everything while I'm also still sort of doodling here. Slowly, I know, tonight. I know I'm doodling slowly. Hey, Chris, just wanted to reach out and say that I recently found your channel and have been hooked. Thank you, Victor. Your insight is incredible and so entertaining. Chemdog says Silver Coin is so good. Samuel says, I read Cyclopedia on the author's Instagram page. Good. Yeah, isn't that cool? Like, what a... That's right. There is a digital version available out there. On Instagram. But it is published as well, like in a paper. Actual paper. Superman wins by default for me, having read too many of those. Edison Hark, the writers of Good Asians, sure like Chewy Hark. Maybe. Boy, Choi Hark used to make some cool movies, huh? Whatever happened to him, I wonder? Just haven't seen him since maybe the 90s. Late 90s, but still. Yeah, Superman could be up there, but I don't know who I really am rooting for, but if I had to put money down, I might say that The Silver Coin could win. I think that could be the dark horse in this. The unexpected winner. We'll see. Let's move on to the next one. Interesting category here, folks. I love this. Best reality-based work, okay? So that's just something, doesn't have to be completely nonfiction, but it has to be based on something, real. Maybe exploring science or telling historical fiction, but like trying to tell it accurately. Things like that. So we've got best reality-based work. Let me stop inking so that I can actually read, because I can't read and draw at the same time. I know, I'm terrible. All right, so we've got The Black Panther Party, A Graphic History by David F. Walker and Marcus Kwame Anderson. We've got Hakim's Odyssey, Book 1, From Syria to Turkey by Fabian Toulme, translation by Hannah Shute. Lugosi, The Rise and Fall of Hollywood's Dracula by Corinne Shadmi. Orwell by Pierre Christin and Sébastien Verdier, translation by Edward Guavin. Seek You, A Journey Through American Loneliness by Kristen Radke. And The Strange Death of Alex Raymond by Dave Sim and Carson Grubaugh. Look, I may have conflicted views or opinions, feelings really, towards Dave Sim. But he is a talented creator. And Alex Raymond's life is a very interesting cartoonist's life. Did he commit suicide? Was he killed? Was it just an accident? I don't know. Talented, super talented artist. Died in a mysterious way. I can't help it. I gotta choose that one. The other topics sound interesting, especially that Lugosi one. I would love to read about Bela Lugosi's life in comic book format. But, yeah. Tari says, I'm nominating you for one of the best YouTube comic book channels. You deserve an Eisner. I've been nominated for an Eisner before. Not for this. Some of you may know I illustrated a story in a book called Trickster, which was written by various Native Americans about their tribe's version of a trickster legend. And I illustrated one of those stories, and that was nominated for an Eisner. So technically, like not the same as having, I'm one of those and various when they list the artists. But yeah, I was technically nominated for an Eisner once. Nominated, didn't win. Chemdog says anything about Lugosi works for me. Yes. Tit Goblin says Death of Alex all the way. Jamil and Park says I think Alex Raymond is taking that one. Jamil Frost says yeah, Alex Raymond over here. Look, what does it have going for it? It's a book about comics. Movies about movies win Oscars. Comics about comics, when they get nominated, they're probably going to win over something else. I think it's the odds-on favorite. I think yeah. In fact, let's start a betting pool now. Let's start a betting pool on the Eisners. But that's the one I'd go. If you haven't checked out the film Ed Wood with Johnny Depp, Bela Lugosi is a major character, hilarious film. I hope everybody has seen that movie. Ed Wood is... I'm trying to think if it's definitely the best Johnny Depp, if it's definitely the best Tim Burton movie. It might be. It might be. Ed Wood's very, very good. Tari Owen says Tari Owe. Sorry. Have I been mispronouncing that? Death of Alex. Joe Dent says Ed Wood is a great film. I love when he gets knocked out by the flying frying pan. It's a good movie. I gotta rewatch that one. You guys are reminding me. I gotta rewatch that one. Yeah, I think Death of Alex Raymond has got this one, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's get something finer here. I'm going to just do a few touch-ups around this for like the webbing and so just a little bit of shading and stuff, but we've got some more categories. So, show isn't quite over yet, folks. New intro. Welcome to Comic Tropes. I'm your host, Eisner-nominated artist Chris. Yeah, I don't think so. Do you think Dave Sims' crazy life will affect his nomination? I think it's the only thing that could affect it, but no, I don't think it will at this point. That he hasn't really been in the limelight in a long time. He's really not able to draw anymore. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have done this. Chrissy says, I guess we need to watch Ed Wood together. I've never seen it. Oh, really, Chrissy? I'd love to rewatch that one. Let's watch it together soon. We'll find it somewhere. Best Johnny Depp movie. Tough call. It is a tough call. Johnny Depp has made a lot of good movies. Yeah, watch this slowly transition into me talking about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. And my views go up to like 600,000 live viewers. I'm going to start talking about the trial now. This has all been slowly moving from comics so that I could talk about the Johnny Depp trial and actually get some views. Let's move on. Next category is Best Graphic Memoir. I love biographical comics. Love them because there's so much passion and somebody always has something interesting to share. Owe. Okay. Thank you, Tari. Owe. Yeah, I know. Oh, Michael DeFonte says, just wanted to say great Neil Adams video. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for the super chat. Very nice of you. Very nice of you. All right. Best Graphic Memoir. Factory Summers by Guy Delisle, translated by Helga Dasher and Rob Aspinall. We've got Parenthesis by Elodie Durand, translation by Edward Gauvin. I think that's the second time we've seen him listed as a translator. Run, Book 1 by John Lewis, Andrew Aiden, Elle Fury, and Nate Powell. That's a contender. That's a contender, folks. I've said his March trilogy is insanely good. Save It for Later, Promises, Parenthood, and the Urgency of Protest by Nate Powell. Go Nate. And The Secret to Superhuman Strength by Alison Bechdel. Haven't read that yet. Love Alison Bechdel's Fun Home. Great comic. Would love to read this. The Secret to Superhuman Strength. So I can't go into this with like a strong choice yet because I loved John Lewis's March. I haven't read Run. I loved Alison Bechdel's Fun Home. I haven't read The Secret to Superhuman Strength. I have read Factory Summers, and I adore Guy Delisle's stories. I don't know that Factory Summers is as interesting as, say, like, you know, his year in Pyongyang or his time living in Burma or Israel. But Factory Summers is pretty damn interesting. It's him, yeah. So, I guess right now I'd choose Factory Summers, but personally I would really want to read Run and Secret to Superhuman Strength to be sure that my choice stays the same, because it could change. Don't know if anybody read any of these. Andrew Jefferson agreeing with me. Guy Delisle is always great. Guy Delisle is so cool, folks. If you don't know, let me just pause. Guy Delisle, Canadian, French-Canadian guy, who had worked in animation for a Canadian cartoon studio. His wife is a doctor that works with Doctors Without Borders. So he's done books like his first one that was just amazing. His company in Canada hired animators in North Korea. Believe it or not, North Korea does do a certain amount of animation work for the Western world. That is one of the few things they sort of collaborate with the Western world on. Not a lot, but a little bit. More than you'd think. And they needed one of the people to go over there and sort of supervise the animators. So he spent, I don't remember whether it was like 6 months or a year or something, because it's been a while since I read it, but he went over and lived in North Korea. And you can't take pictures or video or anything, but when he got home, he could definitely make a comic book about what it was like, and it is crazy. It is just so crazy. Yeah, it's so crazy. And then also, he, because of his wife's job, he's lived in Burma, Myanmar. He's lived in Israel. He went to Shenzhen, China. All three of those are books, as well as Pyongyang. Pretty interesting stuff. His biographies are really interesting. Really, really interesting. Guy Delisle. Strong recommendation, folks. All right, moving forward. If they make a film about Chris, I can see Seth Rogen playing him. Oh, you know what that reminds me of? I've got a recommendation, folks. I watched a movie on Disney Plus this past week. It was so much funnier than I expected it to be. I thought I'd just try it, bail on it. So funny. Chip and Dale. Chip and Dale is a movie that went straight to Disney Plus. Hilarious. Seth Rogen's in it. Chip and Dale are played by, respectively, John Mulaney and Andy Samberg. And basically the premise is they live in a world like Roger Rabbit, where cartoons and real people live together, and they used to act on the show Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, but now it takes place in the modern day. You know, they haven't been in touch for a long time, and they get drawn into a mystery where cartoons are being abducted and turned into bootleg versions and sold overseas. It's so funny. It's super, super funny. Seth Rogen's in it. Yeah, it's really, really good. If I say it too much, you might build it up too much in your head and you'd be like, well, that was funny, but not mind-blowing. But I think it was really, really strong. Really, really strong. If you liked Roger Rabbit, you'll definitely like this. It's got some really good jokes. Tons of cameos. They got characters from, Warner Brothers and Transformers, and Sonic is in it. Well, a version of Sonic. I won't give it all away, but they've got Batman in it and stuff like that. There's some really funny stuff because it's a world where cartoons all exist. So, I recommend it. Yeah. Where was I then? All right, because somebody said that Seth Rogen should play me. He plays a character, by the way, that's like a CG animated dwarf barbarian, supposed to look really real, but he's in the uncanny valley, so his eyes always look like he's just staring straight ahead. He's got dead eyes, and he's like, "What? I'm looking right at you." Are you? I thought it was all right. All right. It made me laugh. I went in with very low expectations, and it made me laugh. Moving on for Eisners. We've got Best Graphic Album New. So, just a full sort of, hardcover or trade paperback, a full complete story, not just a single floppy, but a full graphic album. So we've got Ballad for Sophie by Felipe Melo and Juan Cavia, translation by Gabriela Soares. We've got Destroy All Monsters by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Guess what I'm going to vote for? We've got In by Will McPhail. Meadowlark, a coming-of-age crime story by Ethan Hawke and Greg Ruth. Yeah, that Ethan Hawke. And we've got Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith. So guess what? I'm not voting for Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, even though I adore those guys. My favorite creative team working today. Sorry, Monsters is... It's at the pinnacle, folks. I think that was my number one pick for best comic that came out last year. Like I do my best of the year in December, the last week of December or the first week of January. So I'm on a different sort of schedule than what these guys are doing. But Monsters. Ooh, it is so good. So good. Got it. Chris says it's funnier than Airplane. Holding you to it. It's funnier than Airplane. Yeah, Monsters. Barry Windsor Smith. Yep, I'm seeing some people respond. Yep. If you've read it, you know. It's a really powerful comic. It's big. It's dark. It follows about 3 different main characters that are all intertwined in a really scary story. But this is the work of Barry Windsor Smith's career. It's something special. Strong recommend. Strong recommend. Yep. Thanks for the new recommendation. Got a stream. Got a split. Catch you later. See ya, Super Pickle. Good luck with your stream. I was going to be upset if it wasn't nominated. Right? Yeah, it's pretty good. Oh, I thought it was better than Roger Rabbit in a way. I guess it all depends on people's sense of humor. Totally understand, though, Peak. All right, best graphic album, Reprint. So an older thing that's a compendium of stuff that we've probably seen before. We've got The Complete American Gods by Neil Gaiman, almost got that out, P. Craig Russell, and Scott Hampton. Lock and Key, Key House Compendium by Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. Middle West, The Complete Tale by Scotty Young and Jorge Corona. Rick and Morty vs. Dungeons & Dragons Deluxe Edition by Patrick Rothfuss, Jim Zub, and Troy Little. That was a really funny book. The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys, California Deluxe Edition by Gerard Way, Sean Simon, and Becky Cloonan. These are all superstar. These are all big names. Wow. Those are probably those are all big. Those are all big. I'm going to go with Lock and Key. I thought Lock and Key was a really special, amazing comic. It mixed adventure and fantasy with true horror in a good way. How do you keep up with all these comics? I can't begin to keep up. It's sort of my job. I don't read everything, but I read as much as I can. I consider it my job. Curious about responses there. I'm going to do a little inking, and we'll see if any of you guys have an opinion on best graphic album Reprint, because there's probably a few more people that have had a chance to read some of these than some of the other ones that I've talked about so far. Let's see. Gerard Way. Yep, Gerard Way. He's done a bunch of comics. The American Gods comic is a gorgeous book. It would be cool if Lock and Key got it. I love Lock and Key. Gerard Way. Who would have thought he'd be an amazing comic writer? I know. But Umbrella Academy is pretty cool, too. And his Doom Patrol wasn't bad. So is selling cars your hobby? I have 2 jobs. I am burning the candle at both ends, Andrew. I loved Lock and Key. That Killjoys collection looks pretty nice, though. Yep. It wasn't nominated, and I think it was last year, but Scud the Disposable Assassin reprint. I think that was 2 years ago now. I think it was 2 years ago. But I love Scud. I love it. Do the reprints get votes because of the actual physical book or because of the contents? A mix, I think. I think a mix. But you're right. But I do think that the physical presentation matters a lot for this specific category. Anybody else have the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers theme in their head ever since I mentioned that? Never watched that show, but they do play the song on it, and it is now stuck in my head. Anyway, let me move on. Moving on. What's the next category? Next category is Best Adaptation from Another Medium. Okay, cool. We've got After the Rain by Nnendi Okafor, adapted by John Jennings and David Brame. Bubble, that's the second time I've seen that one nominated, by Jordan Morris, Sarah Morgan, and Tony Cliff. Disney Cruella, adapted by Hachi Ishii. I've seen that on the stands. They made a manga version of that live-action Cruella movie. It did look interesting, to be honest. It really did. And we've got George Orwell's 1984, the graphic novel, adapted by Fido Nesti. And finally, The Ragged Trousered Philanthropists by Robert Tressel, adapted by Sophie and Scarlett Ricard. I might go with George Orwell's 1984. I think that's a pretty important piece of literature, and I think it's cool that it's been adapted into comic book form. But that Cruella book, I literally picked it up because the cover caught my eye with how good the artwork looked. So that might be a good comic too. I don't know. That theme for Chippendale makes me want to run through a brick wall. The George Perez Wonder Woman would qualify for the next year, right? I believe so, Jamilin. Good call. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see both Perez and Adams show up in that last category next year. We've got Best U.S. Edition of International Material. And the nominees are Ballad for Sophie by Felipe Melo and Juan Cavia, translation by Gabriela Soares. We've heard that one nominated before today. Let's see. Between Snow and Wolf by Agnes Domergue and Helene Kanak, translation by Maria Varenhorst. These names are tough. Love, the Mastiff by the Mastiff by Frederic Bremond and Federico Bertolucci. The Parakeet by Espe, translation by Hannah Shute. Oh, we've seen her translate before. And we've got The Shadow of a Man by Benoit Peters and Francois Schoiten, translation by Stephen D. Smith. I don't know. I didn't read any of those. I don't know those people. Tagged Trousered Philanthropists is a great book. Oh, well, Ragged Trousered Philanthropists. Good to know. There is a beautiful manga called After the Rain, A Slice of Life Story. I like stuff like that. I like stuff like that quite a bit. Thanks for the heads up on that. Let's see what else we've got here. I'm going to just sort of touch up little bits of this drawing too to make it fit my exacting standards. You know, I'm just such a perfectionist, aren't I? No. The next category, because I don't think any of us really knew that one, but we've got Best U.S. Edition of International Material Asia. So much manga and stuff. We've got Chainsaw Man by Tatsuki Fujimoto, translation by Amanda Haley. Kaiju number 8 by Noya Matsumoto, translation by David Evelyn. Love Sickness, Junji Ito Story Collection by Junji Ito, translation by Jocelyn Allen. Robo Sapiens, Tales of Tomorrow by Toranosuke Shimada, translation by Adrienne Beck. Spy X Family by Tatsuya Endo, translation by Casey Lowe. And finally, Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead by Haro Aso and Kotaro Takata, translation by Nova Skipper. That's not an easy one. I think people know that I love Junji Ito. I like his collections. I would not choose him on this one. It's not my favorite version. Spy Family is probably going to win because it's so popular, but I think I'd go with Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man is ridiculous, and the art is really cool. Chris, you've done a video on Scud the Disposable, and that was 3 years ago. Yeah, I remember that. But I think that they came up with another reprint since then, that's all. Thanks for the recommendation of Asadora. I'm really enjoying it. Totally agree. Marvin Nation does say Spy Family 200%, and I won't be surprised if that's what wins. That one's still, like, you know, super popular, but like getting more popular. So it's got the buzz going for it, you know. Damn, we've got a lot more categories to go. So let me just let me pause to do. Okay, Hannah Kelsey also says Spy Family is amazing. How many categories do I have left? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 more categories? I got to go faster. Because we got to wrap this up. But tell you what, I'm going to pause. Folks, we didn't come close to like any of my metrics for giving this away. This will have to be given away next time. Or maybe even one in the future. But we didn't come close. Maybe I need to rethink those metrics. But we didn't come close, and I want to be fair. Sorry. If anybody's tuning in now just to try to win that. I will give it away. But let's just pause to open these blind boxes. What are these? I love the Gorillaz. Co-created by comic book artist Jamie Hewlett. Gene says, what? Holy moly. All right. What do we got here? I'm going to open a blind bag. Who do we hope I get? Who do we hope? Murdoch 2D? Where's the, is this it? No. I'm looking for, usually there's like a little notch. Ah, there it is. All right, here we go. Gorillaz blind box, and I got, who's that? Let me look. Oh, that's Mike the Monkey. That's Mike the Monkey. That's like their mascot, huh? Oh, and he's got a tail or something? Yeah, he's got a tail here. Please say that they have 30-year-old gum inside. No! No, Joe! I am not putting 30-year-old gum in me anymore. I am not having that ever again. How dare you even hint at that? Like, you're going to give me trauma. Noodle. Yeah, Noodle would be awesome. I hope I get one of the main Gorillaz. I hope I get... Even Russell would be cool. But that looks good. Damn, that's a good action. It's not an action figure. It's just like a vinyl statue. It's a little flexible, but it's really great detailing and incredible paint applications. Like on the fingers and toes, it actually has like a gradient of color. 14 more categories. Hold on, let me get some popcorn and water. I'll be back. I'll be back. That's a perfect impression. All right, so we've got that. Gonna open one more, and then I'll just blast through the last few categories to wrap this live stream up, okay? Shootin' and Peters do the Cities of the Fantastic series. They serialized The Tower and Fever in Urbicande and Cheval Noir from Dark Horse, says Dominic McInnes. I didn't read any of that, but awesome. All right, let's hope I got one of the main characters this time. That's all I want. I just want to get one of the main characters. If it was up to me, I'd probably want 2D the most. Probably. But I'll take any of them. Hey! I got Russell. I'm happy. That's one of the main characters. Happy to get him. Alright. So we've got Mike the Monkey and Russell. What do you think, guys? Anybody else out there like the Gorillaz? I do. I got to do an episode about Jamie Hewlett. He created Tank Girl, if you don't know. But he also created the Gorillaz. Not really meant to be played with, just sort of put on a shelf. So there we go. There we go. I'm going to put them on my shelf. And let's bang through the last few categories, because it's already been 2 hours. I'm basically done with my drawing, I think. But let's finish this up. Best Archival Collection or Project strips, comic strips, best collection of them. Friday Foster, The Sunday Strips by Jim Lawrence and Jorge Langeron, edited by Christopher Marlin, Rich Young, and Kevin Kettner. Friday Foster was one of the first comic strips to be adapted into a film. Black character, too. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It's not an action figure, so it's a doll. Yes, it's a doll. It's my little dolly. Goo goo gaga. We've also got, for Best Archival Collection, Popeye, the EC Cigar Sundays, Volume 1 by EC Cigar, edited by Gary Groth and Conrad Groth. We've got Trots and Bonnie by Sherry Flanagan, edited by Norman Hathaway. And we've got The Way of Zen, adapted and illustrated by C.C. Tsai, translated by Brian Bruya. Folks, Popeye. The EC Cigar was amazing. I have trouble pronouncing his name. I gotta slow down. Popeye is legit still very funny. Artwork is great. You could argue he was kind of like a superhuman comic strip character before even Superman and stuff. So pretty interesting character. Where'd you pick up those blind boxes? I think I picked these up on the Super Plastic website. Yeah, I did. Super Plastic directly. Next is Best Archival Collection Project comic books. So collecting comic books instead of strips. We've got EC Covers, Artist's Edition, edited by Scott Dunbier. Farewell Brindavoin by Tardy, translation by Jenna Allen, edited by Conrad Groth. Marvel Comics Library, Spider-Man Volume 1 by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, edited by Steve Corte. Spain Rodriguez, My Life and Times, Volume 3, edited by Patrick Rosencrans. Steranko Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Artisan Edition, edited by Scott Dunbier. And Uncle Scrooge, Island in the Sky by Carl Barks, edited by J. Michael Catrone. Look, the EC Comics horror covers, amazing. Early Spider-Man by Lee and Ditko was incredible. Spain Rodriguez is a great artist. Steranko's Nick Fury was definitely cutting edge and stuff, but I'd give it to Uncle Scrooge. Yeah, Uncle Scrooge by Carl Barks. I gotta do a Carl Barks episode. Let y'all know Carl Barks is really, really an amazing artist and really funny and created everything important about like that sort of duck world. I'm strong to the finish because I eats me spinach. Bunch of people voting for EC covers. Totally get it. Some of those things are awesome. Oh, Tick Goblin says Hewlett's Toshin art book is fantastic. Haven't seen that. Would love to. And a couple people did agree with me on Popeye. That's cool. Moving forward, though, we've got Best Writer. We're into some of the big categories. Best Writer, Ed Brubaker for Destroy All Monsters. Kelly Sue DeConnick for Wonder Woman Historia of the Amazons Book 1. Felipe Melo for Ballad for Sophie. Ram V for The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, The Swamp Thing, and Carnage, Black, White, and Blood. Oh, and Venom. James Tynion IV for House of Slaughter. Something is Killing the Children. Wind, The Nice House on the Lake, The Joker, Batman, DC Pride, The Department of Truth, Blue Book, Razor Blades. Wow, he's been busy. I give it to Ed Brubaker. Sorry, love Ed Brubaker. Yeah, when we're just talking purely writer, and that, like, I chose The Many Deaths of Layla Starr by Ram V over Ed Brubaker earlier. But Ram V also did, like, do I care as much about Venom and Carnage? Not really. So it almost brings it down, whereas, like, Ed Brubaker's super consistent. Marcelo Ramos is Team Don Rosa. Look, nothing wrong with Don Rosa, but for me, it's all about Carl Barks. Wonder Woman, huh? Chemdog is voting for Kelly Sue DeConnick. Okay, that's fair. That's totally fair. She's earned her place in comics, no question. Gotta keep moving, though. Best Writer Artist. We've got Alison Bechdel for The Secret to Superhuman Strength. Junji Ito for Deserter. Daniel Warren Johnson for Superman Red and Blue. Will McPhail for In, a graphic novel. And Barry Windsor Smith for Monsters. Gotta give it to again, Barry Windsor Smith in this category. Monsters was something very, very special. Gotta give it to him. Tynan has that locked. Tynan's Year. Okay. New Thor trailer dropped at 10 p.m. Lost what time it was watching the stream. Oh, okay. I'll watch that Thor trailer after this. So, yeah, probably it will be Tynan for Best Writer. For Best Writer Artist, I feel strongly that Barry Windsor Smith is going to win. I think that Monsters is going to win any category it's nominated. I really do. And look, Marvin Nation, Barry Windsor Smith. Chemdog, Barry Windsor Smith for the win. Jamillan Parks, Barry Windsor Smith. X, Monsters. Tari Oe, Barry Windsor Smith, Monsters. Yeah. I think you should push the black versus white in that image. More Frank Miller-esque. Get rid of those white lines in her legs. I was wondering about that, Patrick. So you've pushed me to touch this up. I was starting to think that was a bad artistic choice to sort of show the lines between things when it's all black. It's almost like I wanted to show off that I got the anatomy right, you know? And that doesn't necessarily help the drawing. So I don't know if this will make it better or not. It'll be up to the imagination, I guess. I am keeping the rest of those lines because I would fill that in with color. But, oh, and then... It hurts in a way to get rid of these lines that I feel like belong there, but I think you're right. Like I was wondering about that, so you convinced me. I don't know. Does that look better? Might. I think it does. I think it does. Some more votes from people like Ricky Prickles for Monsters. The Thor trailer is awesome. Okay, well, so you can wait for the Thor trailer, folks. We're gonna go through the categories. I'm like watching the concurrent viewers, wondering if it's gonna just like drop to zero because people are like, Thor? I like Thor a lot more than Chris. The Thor trailer will be there. Okay, we're gonna go through the Eisner nominees. Let's see what the next one is. Best penciler inker or penciler inker team. Love this category. I mean, comics is a visual medium. We've got a super chat from Andrew Jefferson. Anything you felt got slighted with no nominations? That's a great question. No, to be honest, like, I think that all my favorite stuff is kind of in here from the last year. Let me think about it some more, though. We've still got a couple categories, too. Just a few more. That looks better. Thanks, Joe. Patrick Daniel says, better. It's all about the feel more than the anatomy. You're right. It was almost like I was like showing off like, hey, I got this in the right position. MCU gets rights to Stan Lee. What does that mean? Well, we already talked about that. Yeah, the Marvel got the likeness rights to Stan Lee. Very creepy stuff, but we talked about that for quite a while. More Chris, less Thor. There we go. All right, so best penciler inker or penciler inker team. We've got the nominees are Felipe Andrade for The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Well-deserved. Phil Jimenez for Wonder Woman Historia. Bruno Redondo for Nightwing. Asad Ribic for Eternals. And P. Craig Russell for Norse Mythology. I would again call this a very tough one to choose. These are all fantastic artists. I do have my choice, and I'll argue it in a moment, but Chris Sears, thank you for the super chat. We didn't quite come up to the $500 that was going to, where I donate this, but maybe next week or something. So we're making our way there. Chris, I appreciate the super chat very, very much. That's really, really kind of you. I'm going to vote for Bruno Redondo. And ChemDog also just said the same thing. I think Bruno Redondo is doing incredible work. I think we have to factor in his covers as well. His covers for Nightwing are very eye-catching. This is a guy going places, folks. Bruno Redondo is somebody special. Very clean artwork. Very, very clean. But all the things that you need in terms of underlying anatomy, structure, composition, good backgrounds, like, good at drawing cars, buildings, plants, just objects. Really good. Interesting. 2 people saying I love P. Craig Russell, and I think Norse is going to win. Okay, I could understand it. Jamilin says I'd give it to Jimenez. Tari also says I want to go with Phil Jimenez, but it's a tough call. Will they continue to use Stan Lee as a cameo in MCU films, but done with CGI or deepfakes? Well, that's what we were all talking about. We don't know. I think we all agreed that would be very creepy. It wouldn't really make anybody happy, so we hope that that's not what they're going to do, but we don't know. I think Redondo would be great drawing Spider-Man. Oh, no question. Asad Ribic is amazing. I'll have to check out Bruno. Okay. I'm going to vote for Jim Lee, even though he's not nominated, just biased. I think that's beyond biased. That's based. Let's see. So is it only for the MCU? Or I think it's all of Marvel got the rights to Stan. So like they could do it in comics or theme parks, etc. Hopefully. I'm voting for Bruno Redondo, but it sounds like that other people think P. Craig Russell could definitely deserve it. We've got Best Painter or Multimedia Artist. That's become more and more important in the last several years. We've got Federico Bertolucci for Brindille and Love the Mastiff. We've got John Bolton for Hell's Flaw. I missed John Bolton's work. That's cool. Juan Cavia for Ballad of Sophie. Frank Pei for Little Nemo. Ileana Surdukan for The Lost Sunday. And Sana Takeda for Monstrous. I'm personally going to give it to Sana for Monstrous. I think that that's, out of these options, my favorite. A little surprised not to see Alex Ross nominated, but maybe they feel he's gotten enough nominations. But I thought he was doing great work for Immortal Hulk. So I'm a little surprised not to see him nominated. I'm going to give it to Sana. Oh, well, just to be clear, Skevin, his daughter is the one that, like, sold these rights. It's not like she's going to do anything with them by herself. So she was part of... JC definitely, like, made sure that this deal went through. And it's for, like, 11 years. John Bolton, okay. You don't want to go to his daughter? Yeah, well, too bad. Like, they all that stuff falls to her. She's Stan's only heir, so she gets everything. For Stanley, maybe it's more like Stanley meets comics. Yeah, hopefully. That stuff's acceptable. Anyway, just seeing if anybody else had any strong opinions about Best Painter or Multimedia Artist. I gave it to Sana. And, okay, Jamilin also says Monstrous, but I do like me some John Bolton. Totally agree. Totally agree. Would be nice to see him acknowledged, because he's been working a long time now. Let's move on. This one's a fun one. I'm putting everyone Wizard Awards, and I'm giving everyone Wizard Awards and putting them on Bullpen Coolometer. Oh yeah, the Coolometer. That thing was... Okay. Best Cover Artist. Okay? Best Cover Artist. And this is going to be very, very competitive. I think we're all going to have a hard time choosing the winner. Jen Bartel. She did stuff like Future State, Immortal Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman Black and Gold, Wonder Woman 80th Anniversary, and Women's History Month variant covers at Marvel. David Mack for Norse Mythology. Bruno Redondo for Nightwing. We talked about him already. Here we've got Alex Ross for things like Black Panther, Captain America Iron Man, Immortal Hulk, just regular Iron Man, and the U.S. of the Marvels. We've got Julian Totino Tedesco for Just Beyond Monstrosity, Dune, House Atreides, Action Comics, and The Walking Dead Deluxe. And finally, we've got Yoshi Yoshitani for I Am Not Starfire, The Blue Flame, Giga, and Witchblade. Julian Totino Tedesco. Yeah. When it comes to Best Cover Artist, who have I talked up so far tonight? I've talked up Bruno Redondo. I've talked up Alex Ross. And I'm choosing above them Julian Totino Tedesco. His covers have been some of the absolute best of the year. Absolute best. Okay. X is saying he appreciates Jen Bartel's work. Chemdog says Redondo again. Tari says Alex Ross. Andrew Jefferson says David Mack. Jamilin goes Jen Bartel or Alex Ross for me. These are all great artists. For me, it's Tedesco. Tedesco, take a look at his covers if you haven't seen them. Really, really amazing. Really, really amazing stuff. For covers. Specifically, like, you got to look at it and say, is this good art? But also, is this going to inspire me to open the comic? And a lot of these people deserve to be there. No question. This is fiercely contested. Really good. Really good. Alex Ross, your hair is so long tonight. I know. I'm getting a haircut on Thursday. Sorry, Gene. Dave Johnson should have been nominated for Good Asian. Dave Johnson is one of the all-time best cover artists. Totally agree. Totally agree. I also think that Sean Phillips' painted covers on all the Reckless books are incredible. Those look like classic 1970s action movie posters. Like, they look incredible. But he's not nominated. So I do think that's a bit of a miss. I do. I would have also put Dave Johnson and Sean Phillips in here. And Bruno Redondo's Nightwing covers are something special, but I choose Tedesco. Let's keep going. Best coloring. Coloring is important. Got Felipe Andrade and Ines Amaro for The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Terry Dodson for Adventure Man. Kevin O'Neill, I think it's Kevin O'Neill, it just says K. O'Neill, for the T-Dragon Tapestry. Jacob Phillips for Destroy All Monsters. Matt Wilson, he did things like Undiscovered, Firepower, Eternals, Thor, Wolverine, Jonna, and the Unpossible Monsters. I'm giving it to Jacob Phillips, and I'll tell you why. Not overly rendered. This is a thing I've started to see in modern colored comics. Sometimes they do too much in terms of technique and gradients and stuff, and it covers up the line art. And I think that the line art is very important in comics. I want to see that. So I want a slightly more flat color sometimes. A little bit of gradient, a few effects, but I want to see the line art because that's what makes the most powerful statement on the page. That's how comics are made, unless you're painting from the beginning. So I'm giving it to Jacob Phillips for Destroy All Monsters. Tedesco is pretty dope. I wasn't familiar with the name, but those covers do catch my eye. Yep. Darren says, I'm a big Alex Ross stan, so yeah, you totally get it. I wasn't saying it's bad, just saying it's long for you. This is about as long as my hair has ever gotten. Yes, Gene. It is long. I was really surprised Jenny Frison wasn't nominated. That's true, Robert. Jenny Frison for covers. Why isn't Art Germ in there? Why isn't I'm trying to think of a name. She does all the variant covers, but she also just did all the X-Men Demon Days books. All of a sudden, my mind is going blank at this hour, and I can't think of her, but she's incredibly popular. Yeah, it is interesting that some of these people weren't nominated. I do think that the colors in The Many Deaths of Layla Starr was also really, really strong, so that could be there. I don't think it's Kevin O'Neill, but it is confusing. It probably isn't, the more I think about it, because I've seen the T-Dragon Tapestry, and Kevin O'Neill is got a really unique art style for drawing. I don't think he's doing the colors, so I don't know what K is short for. Anyway, let's move on, though. Let's move on. Peach Momoko. Why isn't she in there for Best Cover Artist? You'd kind of think. I mean, Peach Momoko and Art Germ sell covers. I mean, they sell comics because of their covers. I like Dave Stewart colors. Yep. He's doing very well with Sean Murphy. Yep, very good. Best lettering. I'm a nerd for good lettering. So what do we got here? We've got Wes Abbott for Future State, Nightwing, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Black and Gold. Clayton Cowles for Amazons, Batman, Catwoman, Strange Adventures, Wonder Woman, Historia, Adventure Man, Daredevil, Eternals, King in Black, Strange Academy, Venom, X-Men. Wow. Okay, Clayton. That's a lot of work. We've got Crank. That's a letterer named Crank for Jonna and the Unpossible Monsters. Ed Dukeshire for Once and Future and Seven Secrets, and Barry Windsor Smith for Monsters. I'm probably not going to give it to Barry Windsor Smith for the lettering. It's not bad in any way, but I'm giving it to Clayton Cowles. I've noticed his lettering, and how can you not? You heard how many things I just rattled off. And Clayton comes up with slightly different fonts depending on the project, different sort of balloon sizes and tails. It's very subtle. But I'm going to give it to Clayton. Would Ed Piskor's Red Room be eligible for something like Anthology? No, I don't think it would count as an anthology. An anthology isn't just like different stories, it's like different creators too. You think it deserved a nomination for anthology and lettering? Maybe lettering. Yeah, maybe lettering. I could see that. I don't think it would count for anthology. We don't have too many left. We've got 5 categories, so let's get through this. Best comics related periodical or journalism. Guess what? Comic Tropes wasn't nominated. I don't know. They never consider YouTubers as like journalists or anything like that, so I don't know. Maybe they should come up with a new category though, because I'm certainly not the only YouTuber talking about comics. Yeah, I mean, there's even comic creators that have comic book shows now. You know, like Daniel Warren Johnson has a show. Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor have a show. I feel like, you know, it should be like, you know, a video. You don't have to call it YouTube because maybe somebody does it on, you know, Twitch or does it on Instagram. But I feel like it should be a category. I do. Do I deserve a nomination? I'm not arguing necessarily for that. But I think what I do should be in a category that's acknowledged. That's what I think. What are your thoughts on Nate Picos's Essential Guide to Comic Book Lettering? It's a good book. It's a good book. You can learn a lot from it. I would give it to Monsters because of how the written letters portrayed the thought of the characters. You're right, Carl. It is very good. It deserves to be nominated. It does deserve to be nominated. When a character is angry and shouting gibberish, like the words are like, you know, like the bubble can barely hold it all in. It is good. It is very good, and it deserves to be nominated, but I'm going to give it to Clayton. How do they judge lettering? Isn't most digital now? It doesn't matter if it's digital. It doesn't matter how clean it is. It matters how well it suits the story. Look at it more carefully for like sound effects. Look at it more carefully for like the font choices. Look at it more carefully for like the placement. Look at it more carefully for like what kind of tails they give, and then what kind of effects they use when it's appropriate. It's almost an invisible art. You know, you want it to not be too noticeable, but yeah, lettering is important. Lettering is a super important part, so they have to find a way to judge it. If someone like Disney or a TV studio asked you to host Comic Tropes on TV or streaming, would you do it? Only if I could still do the same show that I'm doing now, honestly. I don't really care about the money. I've said no to huge sponsorship deals to do the show the way I want to do it. So they could literally offer me like $1 million, and I wouldn't say yes unless I had control over the presentation and the subjects and stuff like that. Yeah. But would I do it on a channel? Like, yeah, I would do it. I would. Or I'd even do like a slightly different type of show. I would. But I want to like... It's always been pretty important to me, guys, that I'm not like hawking something that I don't believe in to you. I don't want to just promote something that I don't think is good, whether that's a comic or a product. It's pretty important. Anyway, we've got best comics related periodicals. So what do we got? Okay, not me, but we've got Alter Ego, edited by Roy Thomas, great magazine. The Columbus Scribbler, edited by Brian Canini, Jack Wallace, and Steve Steiner. I haven't been to that website. We've got Fanbase Press by Barbara Dillon. The Comics Journal, or tcg.com, by Tucker Stone and Joe McCullough. And we've got Women Write About Comics, edited by Wendy Brown and Nola Pfau. I'm biased. Nola is a friend. Has been a friend since before she created Women Write About Comics. I think Women Write About Comics has some incredible editorials about comics. They've won the Eisner, I think, twice before. They're probably going to win it again. It's a good website. They've got some really in-depth analysis of comics. Comic Tropes is the only comics-related YouTube show I watch these days. Kudos. Well, thank you for watching. Comic Tropes, but it's the Eric Andre show. There you go. Alter Ego. Alter Ego's been around for a long time and gets great interviews. There's a lot of good stuff on it. There's a lot of good stuff about it. I don't know the Columbus Scribbler, but the rest of them deserve to be there. How about best comics related book? A book about comics. And the nominees are All of the Marvels by Douglas Woke, The Art of Tie Comics, A Century of Strips and Stripes by Nicholas Verstappen, Fantastic Four #1, Panel by Panel by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Chip Kidd, and Jeff Spear, Old Gods and New, a companion to Jack Kirby's Fourth World by John Morrow with John B. Cook, and True Believer, The Rise and Fall of Stan Lee. I think True Believer was interesting, but a little bit of a smear job. It was at least biased. Maybe smear is way overstating it, but it's biased. It's biased against Stan, and I don't think Stan is as bad as some people think. Okay, I just don't. I think Stan did a lot of good for the industry. I think he made mistakes. I think he realized his mistakes eventually and did take steps to correct them. He liked attention, but he brought a lot of attention to comics, and I think he was a good writer. I think he had a style, you know. But anyway, I would choose The Old Gods Anew, a companion to Jack Kirby's Fourth World. I think John Morrow and John B. Cook have done some incredible stuff at Two Morrows Publishing, and I think that one is the one that deserves to be in here. The FF panel by panel is fantastic. Okay, Fantastic Four panel by panel, says Chemdog. Keith Stoll says, best educational program to learn about comics and the history. Thank you. Actually, what did I say? Double salutes. That's how much I respect you, Keith. I'd love to do a show with you hosting where you do a mix of comic tropes and your interviews. Oh, yeah. I'd love to do a show where, like an actual TV show doing that stuff. That would be great. The Fourth World book sounds interesting. I'm starting to stutter. It's getting late. I need water. Let's wrap this up, though. This is important to me. Wow, this is a long show. Sorry, folks. Best academic or scholarly work. Best academic or scholarly work. I have my choice for this. We've got, as options, Comics and the Origins of Manga, a Revisionist History by Ike Exnar. We've got The Life and Comics of Howard Cruz, Taking Risks in the Service of Truth by Andrew J. Kunka. Mysterious Travelers, Steve Ditko and the Search for a New Liberal Identity by Zach Cruz. Pulp Empire, The Secret History of Comics Imperialism by Paul S. Hirsch. And we've got Rebirth of the English Comic Strip, A Kaleidoscope, 1847 to 1870 by David Kunzel. Well, obviously this is the one that I bought. These are all things that people wrote through like universities and stuff like that. But The Origins of Manga is very interesting, as it makes the case that a lot of it was based on American comics from our soldiers leaving comic strips and newspapers and comic books there when they were stationed there right after World War II. It's interesting. It's a very interesting argument. There's a lot of examples, and no matter what, there's a lot of interesting history about manga. So, pretty cool stuff, actually. I recommend this book if you haven't heard about it. Comics and the Origins of Manga, a Revisionist History by Ike Exner. I've recommended that once before, but I do think that that's a pretty cool book. What do we have left? We're almost done. We've got 3 categories. So we've got Best Publication Design, The Complete American Gods, designed by Ethan Kimberling. The Complete Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck Deluxe Edition, designed by Justin Allen Spencer. Crash Pad, designed by Gary Panter and Justin Allen Spencer. Another Justin Allen Spencer one. Machine Gun Kelly's Hotel Diablo, designed by Tyler Boss. Marvel Comics Library Spider-Man Volume 1. And Popeye Volume 1 by E.C. Segar, designed by Jacob Covey. I've seen these. I'd go with Popeye. The Marvel Comics Library Spider-Man Volume 1 is pretty, though. Don't be sorry. Okay, yeah, nice. Scrooge McDuck, I know. Scrooge McDuck is good. Best webcomic. We're going to move through. We're going to power through. Best webcomic. We've got Batman Wayne Family Adventures by C.R.C. Payne and Starbite. Isle of Elsie by Alec Longstreth. Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe. Navalera Like a Butterfly, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, by Hun and Jimmy. Translation by Christiana Lee. And Unmasked by Brary and Newitt. Don't know. Haven't read these. Kind of surprised that I don't see any webtoons in there just because of how popular they are, South Korean comics. A lot of them have been adapted into TV shows and video games and stuff like that. So I'm a little surprised that some of those webcomics don't end up here. Yeah, I'm surprised. But Lore Olympus I've definitely heard of. That's on Webtoon. So is Unmasked. So is the Batman Wayne Family Adventures. So there are 3 things by Webtoon there. But yeah. Easy Cigar. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Marvin Nation. A couple people saying Scrooge McDuck for the last one. But for the webcomic, we've got Wayne Family. What puts Machine Gun Kelly on that list? Who put it? I don't know. That is a weird choice. You know what? He's dating Megan Fox, and I guess Megan Fox is actually a pretty big comic book fan. She knows some stuff about comics. She has been in both like Ninja Turtles and Jonah Hex, and you could argue about the quality of each of those. Certainly Jonah Hex is nothing very good, but she does like comics and apparently knows her stuff. So maybe she has some pull in the industry and was like, you got to put my boyfriend's comic in there. Lore Olympus is supposed to be good. Haven't read it. Wayne Family Adventures is on Webtoons, I think. It is. Just curious what kind of thoughts people had. All right, we're down to the last category, folks. I do have a choice for this one. This is Best Digital Comic. Okay? We've got Days of Sand by Amy DeJong, translation by Christopher Bradley. That's through Europe Comics. Everyone is Tulip by Dave Baker and Nicole Go. That's on the website everyoneistulip.com. We've got It's Jeff by Kelly Thompson and Guri Hiru. That's on Marvel. Love After World Domination 1-3 by Hiroshi Noda and Takehiro Wakamatsu. Translation by Stephen LaCroix. That's on Kodansha's site. And we've got Snow Angels by Jeff Lemire and Jock. That's a Comixology original. Look, if I had to guess, I'd probably say Snow Angels is going to win because I think Lemire and Jock have a lot of respect. But I'd go with It's Jeff. If you haven't looked at it, that is a super cute comic about a tiny shark with like legs that like just goes on little adventures in the Marvel universe. He's super cute. Megan Fox said she was a fan of Image. Have I heard of Reza Faramand? He's a great comedy writer who released a book recently called City Monster. I know you like comedy, and that one gave me a good chuckle. I don't know Reza, but thanks for their recommendation, Du Bois. Love Guri Hiru. Yes, super good artist. Right, Andrew? Super good. So that one gets my vote. Days of Sand was great and worth the read. Well, thank you, Samuel. It's always nice to hear people like pipe in with their opinions on what they liked. Let me double check something here, folks. Folks, we love our comics, don't we, folks? Let me see how many likes this video got, because if it got 500, then I'll give away the Radiant Black comic, but something tells me we didn't hit that. So, but let's see. In terms of likes, I got 131. 131. Didn't hit any of our 500 metrics. So, drew this, went through a lot of news. Hopefully that was fun. We all went through the whole Eisner nominee list, talked that through. I'm going to give this away, but not right now. Maybe next week we can hit some bigger numbers. But we didn't hit anywhere close to what I was aiming for, and that's okay. That's okay. So I got $40 donated tonight. A lot of nights I'll hit closer to a few hundred, so I didn't think it was crazy to say that I was going to donate it if I got $500 donated. But that's okay. I'm not begging for money. I'm just saying, like, I was trying to set something realistic. If I hit a video that has 500 concurrent viewers, $500 of super chats, or 500 likes, I'll donate this. But anything you thought got slighted? That's an interesting question. So this'll be here next week too. We'll just keep this until we either reach that total like donation, and I'll keep a running tally of it, or if we hit like any of those other metrics. What got slighted? I'm sort of looking at like newer comics that I've reviewed lately that just happen to be here to see if any of it belongs in there. You know, all I can think of is this. This is the only thing I can think of is it bothers me a little that Larry Hama never seems to get nominated for everything. Your friend Kendrick Kang Jo Jung is in the new Mike Myers Netflix series. Yes, I'm aware. He's funny. Yeah, it was a little slow tonight. That's okay. I thought this was one of my best episodes. It was slow, but I think it was one of my best. And I appreciate you all staying and coming in. That means a lot to me. But in terms of things that got overlooked, I would just say it would be really nice at some point if Larry Hama did get acknowledged. I think he wrote a lot of good comics this year. He wrote G.I. Joe. He wrote Iron Fist, Heart of Dragon. He wrote Wolverine Patch. He wrote like a Wolverine book for the Iron Man 2022 crossover event, whatever that was called. Can't really remember. I think he's very, very good. And he's never really been nominated for any of this, and it bothers me. It bothers me quite a bit. I would say he deserves to be nominated. I can't remember, did Beta Ray Bill get nominated? Beta Ray Bill did get nominated for Best Limited Series. Although, I don't think I chose it. I forget what I chose instead, because I'd have to go back and look at it. I've always loved Hama's Wolverine. It's good. He gets Wolverine very well. Very good, Chris. Thank you for the stream. Thank you, folks, for staying. I'm going to go get something to eat and actually drink. I really need some water badly. But thank you. This was a long stream, obviously. It went about 50 minutes longer than I expected it to be. Yeah, Hama is definitely in good health. He's older, but he's in good health. He's in good health. Thank you, folks. And at some point, I'll try to think of a way that I can, like, maybe sell some of these drawings or something like that. Maybe instead of just stacking them up here and having them go nowhere. I don't know. We'll see if I can figure something out someday. But this has been a fun one. My next episode is for Comic Tropes. First of all, if you didn't see the Neil Adams one, please check it out. I think that you'll learn something new about him. And thank you. Not that he'd probably hear this, but hold on 2 seconds. I'm just getting a text, and then I'll jump right back to where I was. Yeah, Paul Chadwick was very kind. He on Twitter shared my video about Neil Adams. Said that he liked that. Paul Chadwick, creator, artist, writer of Concrete. Great book by Dark Horse. Great book. But anyway, now for the awkward pause. Yes, I know. I always end the stream, and then I don't quite know when the camera and the stream ends. So I will have an awkward pause here. In terms of people that got overlooked, Jamilin nailed it. Jenny Frisson, Peach Momoko, Arthur Adams. Yeah. I'd put Dave Johnson probably should have been in there too. Who knows? All right, folks. Thank you so much. My next episode of Comic Tropes is going to be pretty funny. It's not looking at a weird, wacky Golden or Silver Age thing. It's a piece of history, but it's a literal comic trope. And can't believe I haven't covered this one yet. I can't wait. I think you guys are going to like it quite a bit. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'll see you here next week. We're going to have more news, reviews, and maybe even give away a comic. So we will see. Thanks, folks. Take care. Keep reading comics. Oh, I'll give you the Devil Salute. Keep reading comics. The Devil Salute.